You know, I can never get it right. I can never get it right. Here we are starting a new year, and I really thought I had it this time. Thank you, Kelly, who just sent me a message in the Slack that popped up that I saw that I was muted. Okay, so welcome back. Happy end of summer. Happy start of school, back to school. Happy almost Labor Day weekend. It is a holiday weekend, a Friday afternoon here in the United States, where I live in New York City. I'm broadcasting live from the Tisch School of the Arts at New York University. I haven't seen the chat catch up to me yet. I know that the live chat that's going on during the stream is usually about 30 seconds behind. So now I see that someone says, Leo says, now we good. So I assume that means the sound is going. You could hear the music, I think, when it was playing before, yes? So I have a whole lot of really wonderful, happy things to announce. I'm going to talk about something called the p5.js web editor. That is the primary topic. Today's live stream will be for the total beginner for the most part. There'll be a few things that I'll do that involve things that you would have to know about already in terms of programming to be able to follow along in full detail. But as always, I try to have everything friendly and available to the beginner. But today I am returning to my roots and going back to create the first intro to you're about to learn to code for the very first time videos. I'm replacing some of the videos on my channel that have gone out of date. So if you're kind of here for the machine learning, lower level TensorFlow programming stuff that I also sometimes do, go enjoy dinner or breakfast or go back to sleep, whatever it is you were doing. I want to begin today, unfortunately, with some very sad news. I'm going to bring up the web browser here. Merin, it's only fitting that I'm not sure if I pronounced his name correctly. Merin is a Coding Train viewer for a long time, a member of the Slack community, someone who made countless contributions on the Coding Train GitHub. I was pouring through all of these commits from Merin. I was looking at some of the messages that Merin wrote. Merin sadly passed away, I believe this week. I actually don't know the date. I was alerted to this news on Twitter. I wanted to take, so Merin is not something I ever met. Merin, I think, though, is, I don't have anything prepared to say, but I think that what I want to say is that one of the reasons why I enjoy and love getting to do this is that the material that I put out on this channel, other people find it and they send me things back. They teach me things. They're kind to me in answering my questions. They join the Slack community. They help somebody else. They contribute on GitHub. I do earn a small living from this channel in addition to the work that I do at NYU. But there's more to it also than that. And Merin, I think, is someone who really, for me, even though I never met him or never spoke voice to him, only chatted through GitHub, is somebody that I really came to know or feel that I know. And I'm really, really sad and sort of crushed to hear this news. So today's live stream is dedicated to Merin. I encourage you to check out the website merindh.nl. I believe there's a place where you can leave online condolences, and most of the Merin is from the Netherlands, if I'm correct. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. So I think if you click on here, you'll see most of it's in Dutch. I'm getting some notes that maybe my sound is a little off, so I'll look at that in a minute. So in the future, I might try to do a fundraiser around suicide awareness. And that's something that I'm looking into. YouTube has a new platform called YouTube Giving. But today's live stream, back to the beginner, I think is appropriate. It's dedicated to Merin. I'm going to mute my microphone and take just about 30 seconds of silence. I'd ask you in the chat to, I know that everybody watching this, the stream comes in at a different time, 30 seconds, 20 seconds later, 45 seconds. So take a moment, take 30 seconds to take a break from the chat, and I will be back. Okay, I also want to say that I'm wearing, it's an awkward transition, but I'm going to go back into coding tutorials as I typically do on Fridays. I also am wearing this shirt made by Taeyoon Choi as part of his project Distributed Web of Care. I was like, oh, I just got that shirt. I want to wear it on the coding train. Should I wear it today? It's a symbol of what I think, to me, I love what Taeyoon is doing with his project Distributed Web of Care. I have to look over here on my monitor to see what's written on it. But a lot of times when we think about technology, we think about control, user, machine, learn, and what about thinking about care? What about unlearn? We're all, after all, rather uncomputable. So this is a shirt from Taeyoon Choi's project, Distributed Web of Care. I'll try to include some links to Taeyoon's work in the video description. Okay, so there was a couple notes about maybe my the shirt tag is up. Okay, well that's pretty typical for me. There were some notes. Thank you, Chris Purgeon, for posting the note in the Slack channel about the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, which is 1-800-273-8255. That's obviously a United States number. Okay, so, thank you moderators for moderating the chat, Kay Weekman in particular, and others of those who are moderating. Everything okay with the sound before I move on? I'm just going to have a little drink of water, check the whiteboard camera. Let's see here, is it working? It is not on, of course. When I drink that water, you can really hear it, right? It's very like awkward and weird sounding, probably. Coding Train brought to you by water. Okay, first of all, I have this chair is like in the shot, which is a problem. Where can I put it? I'll just put it here. Whiteboard, everything okay. Sound is fine over here. I am back. I'm going to, I will include links to Marin's website and his commits and work with the Coding Train in the description. I'm closing this. Oops, I was setting up some stuff. Oh, and this is, of course, something I'm going to talk about. And let me minimize this. Another thing I'll mention is that I have, people are saying the sound's a little quiet. Sound is okay, good. You know, I prefer it to be a little bit quiet, to be honest. Obviously, I want you to be able to hear it, but often I get a bit excitable and I get a little bit loud. And when that happens, sometimes the microphone can peak or distort, and Mathieu, who does a lot of the video editing for posting stuff separately afterwards, can always boost the volume. It's easier to boost it than correct it down. So unless there's a significant problem with you being able to hear it, yeah. Okay, so I do have some new branding stuff that's coming along the way. You can see here, there's going to be some new t-shirts with this new bouncy letters Coding Train logo. You'll notice that in the chat there I have new emojis and icons for the members. That's a thing that's part of the YouTube membership program if you're interested. I don't want to belabor that point, but those of you who are members in the chat can go ahead and blast some of those emojis. And so there's a lot of new stuff coming with new characters and some new t-shirt stuff and stickers and things like that. Okay. Let's see. All right, so let's come over here. So this is what, this is a bit of a tricky time of year for me. As I mentioned many times already, I work at New York University, and so I have classes starting next week. I'm teaching 3 classes, which is a lot. And one of them meets on Tuesday, and one of them meets on Wednesday, and Monday is a holiday. But in particular, one of the classes that I'm teaching is the Introduction to Programming for Total Beginners. And I see that there was a new member that joined. Oh, it was Alka. I think it was Alka. A new member that joined, Alka. Thank you, Alka. Of course, the camera goes off. That was good timing. So I need to, my previous video, it's bouncing around here. I think I'm just going to start, and I got to cover this laptop. I have a new laptop, so much to discuss. I have a new workflow. I'm going to do a video about the new workflow, but I can't get to that today because, what was I trying to get to here? Yes, I need to go to YouTube, youtube.com/thecodingtrain, and I need to go to, I could subscribe to my channel. I created a new Google account just to be logged into something here. So I'm going to subscribe. Got another subscriber. I'm going to go to here. There we go. I'm going to go, let's just look here. No, not here. Don't show me an ad. Don't show me an ad. Oh. All right, so in theory, and a new member, another new member. Question is, are the lights flashing at home? Meyer Shah, thank you for joining. Meyer Shah. These are the videos for the Learn to Code from Scratch You've Never Coded Before course. And they are, many of them were made, I would say, 2 or 3 years ago. Some of them were made last year, a year ago, if we start getting into the classes with ES6 stuff that I started doing. Okay, sorry, there's some like weird delay going on. That's weird. So like the output of this into my monitor is behind. I don't think that's going to cause a huge problem. Let me just test something with you all. Just to see if, is this out of sync for you? I don't care so much, but I'm curious. It's a new computer. I didn't notice this when I did my test run through. You're going to be able to hear me type because the typing is kind of loud. And I want you to, so when you hear the sound of the letter A, does the letter A appear? And I'm going to look over here too. So for me, I see it immediately. And then it appears on the monitor of what I'm live streaming a little bit later. Yet when I move my hand, it's instant. So there seems to be a little bit of a delay. But I think that's going to be fine. I mean, we have to live with it right now. If that's a major issue for anybody, let me know. Okay. Thank you, everybody. All these nice messages in the chat. I love seeing that. Okay, so in theory, this fall, I intend to remake all of these videos. That's crazy. I don't think I'm going to do that. But I am at least going to remake 1.1 Introduction p5.js tutorial. This workflow video is going to go away. I mean, it's not going to go away. It's still going to exist. But that workflow video is not for a total beginner. Instead, it'll be about the p5 web editor, which I will talk about. Then I'll get to basics of drawing. So I want to see if I can redo today. This was a 12-minute video, this was a 15-minute video, and this was a 15-minute video. And by the way, when I say redo, it's not like I just went and rewatched those. So I'm just doing the same idea, but I'll probably do it in a different way with different examples and just with my more gray hair. So that's the no delay. People are saying everything's fine or it's a tiny milliseconds misselect. Okay, so that's the core plan. What else do I want to do? Okay, well, I want to announce the p5 web editor. I'm kind of doing that already, but I will say a few more words about that. I want to do the new intro to code, a drawing tutorial, a color. These are for complete and total beginners. So if you've never coded before, ever, today is a live stream to tune into. But of course, everything will be edited and recorded and uploaded later too. Then I have this idea. The most, I shouldn't say this now because what if I don't get to it? What time is it now? It's 5 o'clock. I have some time, but I also run out of steam eventually. The snake coding challenge is the most viewed video on my channel. It's also like I use constructor functions instead of ES6 classes. I didn't have the p5 web editor when I made that. I did some weird stuff in that video that makes no sense probably. So I thought I would try today as a coding challenge snake game Redux. And it's kind of true that this is just a grab at more views because like I'm sort of curious, like why did that video catch fire? And if I do it again, it probably won't, but will it? I'm just sort of curious. But it also feels like it's worth giving another crack at. So if anybody wants to tell me that's a terrible idea, I will listen, but I'll probably do it anyway. And then number 6 on this list, let me find a working marker. I'm looking at the chat. Number 6 on this list is I want to make some videos about how to make a P5 course with Google Classroom. So, and this will relate to me announcing the P5 web editor. So let me get to that. I'm not announcing the P5 web editor. The P5 web editor has already been announced by the people who made the P5 web editor. I am pointing you to that announcement, just to be clear. So I do work closely with the Processing Foundation. I helped to create the Processing Foundation. I've been working on processing since 2004. And if I go to medium.com/@processing.org, you can see this recent post, Hello P5.js Web Editor. So this is the P5.js. It's just really distracting to me. I'm sorry, when I scroll and then it's like, I see at the corner of my eye, the scrolling coming later, but I'm gonna get used to that. This is the P5 Web Editor announcement. I do need to deal with this laptop and putting some green in front of it. I encourage you to watch this promo video. It has, I'm just gonna play it without sound, because you will not hear it. Oops. So I'm going to let it play. So this is the announcement video. It has all the people who worked on the project, contributed to it. Talked about it. Look, there's me with like a longer beard and Orioles hat. Orioles, go Orioles, right? Maybe. Saber Khan. The reason why I'm wanted to mention Saber Khan has been working on education outreach for the Processing Foundation. He has a whole video about how to do education with P5, and I think in more sort of an overview, and I would like to do some nuts and bolts of like, you're a high school teacher and you use Google Suite already, how can you integrate that with P5 in the web editor? It's something that I'm doing this semester. Here's Cassie, who is the creator of the P5 web editor. So I encourage you to watch these videos on your own, read about it. There is a full overview video with Cassie of all of the features, the bulk of almost all of the features of the web editor. It's about a 20-minute video of Cassie walking you through everything. I'm not going to make one of those myself. It exists right here from the creator of the web editor, so I encourage you to watch that. There is a video here from Matura, who is a recent ITP alum and researcher and a research resident who, with many other people, all credited in this video, Claire Kearney-Volpe and Luis and many other people have worked on making the P5 web editor accessible for people who are blind or have low vision right from the beginning. And so you can watch that video to learn about that. And there's a great question in the chat from Cole, which I want to answer in a second. And then there's also this video about P5.js for educators. Saber talks about a lot of different initiatives related to computer science education, in particular in K through 12, and how you can use P5.js if that's something that interests you. There's a lot of work going on with the New York City Department of Education and the CS for All initiative. They've been directing the writing of a new curriculum written by Luisa Pereira, who also teaches here at ITP. There's a whole P5 curriculum. I will point you to that but you'll find it in the description link. So today is a wonderful day. If you are a teacher, if you are a beginner, I think that all of these resources have been launched and are out there now. Okay, so I encourage you to, all these videos are on the Processing Foundation YouTube channel. How do I get to that? YouTube Processing Foundation. So if you don't already subscribe to the Processing Foundation, look, I'm gonna subscribe. But I don't know what Google account this is that I just made, but so I encourage you to subscribe to the Processing Foundation's YouTube channel, and if you have the means, you can also support the Processing Foundation's work. It's a non-for-profit charity here in the United States at processingfoundation.org/support. That's not the right URL. /support. Okay, so, all right, so that is check. Announce P5 web editor. Let me quickly answer a question that was asked about by Cole in the chat. And okay, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the Slack channel. So Cole asked something like, I'm going to rephrase the question. Will the P5 web editor change the process of uploading coding challenges? So I don't plan to exclusively use the P5.js web editor on this channel. It will certainly become a core tool. My mission is to show a variety of ways of coding. Again, I do focus a bit on using processing in P5 and related libraries, but I use Node, and I'm going to be using Visual Studio Code. I'm going to show you some tricks that I have to use a different terminal, this iTerm thing that the Slack channel and people have helped me set up because I'm very out of date with my stuff. If I do a coding challenge in the web editor, it will facilitate people making their own versions of it and sharing those very easily. And I will talk about that and show that as I get into the web editor itself. All right. I've got to get into this material. So let me figure out. Let's get a good font. Okay, I got to figure this out. Now I really, really hope I don't suddenly spend 45 minutes on this. Please keep me in check. But the web editor's layout is a little bit awkward compared to how I've usually done my videos. So I'm going to just quickly try to set something up. So first, let me get a good font size. Those of you watching, how is this font size? So let me know. I kind of feel like it needs to be a little bit bigger. Let's go to 36. Okay, so let's do here, and 400 shows up there. One thing I can't do easily, if I zoom, that's fine. It's okay, that I can live with. All right, so P5 web editor. Now, there's two options. I'm gonna try something here. This is what I did. Okay, first, let's try to get this laptop to go away. So I've got some green paper cloaking device, and this is my extra laptop where I look at the Slack channel for members. Is it too big? Okay, that's fine. I'm always erring on the side of making it larger. Yes, I saw the CSS modifications to flip the web editor and also increase the console. Oh, I didn't. Now, can you put that in like a GitHub gist? Because that'll be the easiest way for me to grab it onto this computer. I played around with it, but I didn't actually do it on this login. So if you could put it on like a GitHub gist. I'm a little bit afraid of doing that because I'm a little afraid if the web editor looks different on my screen compared to other people's, they're going to be confused. But I think it just being flipped is sort of not a big deal. And I could also acknowledge that. The other thing I could do is I can flip myself. Oh, but my words on my shirt will be backwards. I guess maybe I'll use some CSS hacks to flip that. And we can make that a Chrome extension for people who, it could become a feature of the web editor itself. How am I doing here with this laptop? So far, so good, right? Fazal is asking, what's a gist? A GitHub gist is a single page, lightweight way of sharing a code snippet that is much more lightweight than creating a full GitHub repository. It's just a way of let me quickly share some code with you. Right, yes, this is green paper. I will prove to you it's green paper. There you go. Now I need... okay, let's see. Certainly this is the kind of thing that I should do in advance, but the way my life works these days is I get into this room about 10 minutes before I set the time, and so I very rarely, yep, I think that did the trick. I very rarely I have a lot of, I did spend some time here yesterday at least getting this new computer working. So I've got a bit of a faster computer. I have an E key that works. I would like to get I was thinking of getting a mechanical keyboard. When what was her name? When Newcat Suze was here. Okay. This is a shorter URL. Okay, so I've got it from me. There was a bug in it, that I would love to fix if possible, which is that, but let me try getting that first. So me dot, Oh, so meimso.me.a.txt. Oh, no, but I needed the, so that's good. What was useful to me was somebody made a version that was like, that I could turn into like a little JavaScript bookmarklet, and I could just press and it flipped it around. Otherwise, I suppose I could add this in like by going to the developer console or something. I should know how to do this, right? And if I go down like here into like the styles or something, and I also want to make this bigger. Like I can add it here somehow. It's amazing that I don't know how to do this, right? That's b.txt, okay? So what I'm going to do, this is a little, I do have a video tutorial about making a bookmarklet. Show bookmarks bar, new add page. So I think, did it have JavaScript? Yeah. So if I add this, I think it can just say, oh no, whoops. Flip p5, put this in here, save. And now if I click this, yeah. The bug is, let's see if that bug is there. I want to be able to move this back and forth. Yeah. Is there anybody have any idea about how I could fix this? So I'd love to fix that. I can live with it for right now. But this would be then, people are going to ask, how do I flip it? So I better acknowledge that I'm doing that. I'm going to, I can also like, yeah, but that's fine. Can I remove this? No, whatever. Okay. Let me lock my thing in here. So that, good, I didn't spend too much time on that. Lock. Oh, that looks like, need a little more green, right? I'm the worst. Tiny bit more green. Sorry, everybody. I'm kind of an idiot because I don't need all that space, but I just didn't do it high enough over here. And now I'm going to need another piece of tape. No easy way to fix that. Okay, well, I will just live with it. I think that's okay. The other thing that I was going to do was flip myself, but I think I'll keep it this way. Okay. One more piece of tape, and we should be ready. I'm the worst at this. I didn't do it evenly. Now I have to like undo it. Come on, everything's going to be okay. Stay. How do we do there? All right, can you notice anything? Let's minimize this and see. Yeah, all right. Of course, if I walk over here, it's a little bit weird, but that's fine. Okay. We are in good shape. Just pretend there's a pulley. That's very good feedback. All right. I think I'm ready. I'm just cycling the cameras here. Okay. By the way, for sale, I'm like a NASCAR driver here with my new laptop. Just kidding. I mean, I'm not kidding. Water. H2O, get back to me. All right. I don't think that I need, oops, shoot, wrong button. Oh, shoot. Okay. I don't think that I need this list written out here anymore. If somebody could help me to remember it. Obviously, you could take a snapshot of it, but it's pretty obvious. All right. So let me be clear about what I'm doing here. I'm actually teaching at NYU a new online course for any NYU undergrad to sign up for and learn to code. It's all going to happen online through a Google Classroom. There's lots of features for interaction and discussion and sharing of sketches there. The videos for that course are what I'm doing here on this channel for the public to consume. I have a dream of someday having also a version of the course like that public people could sign up for in some way, but I'm not ready for that yet. I like to do things small and incrementally. So I am not going to be referencing that course in the public videos, but I do need to make some specific content. Anyway, I have to figure some things out. So this first video that I'm about to do will introduce the course. And I don't use scripts, even though I probably should. Sometimes I have a good mental outline of what I want to talk about. Sometimes I just spin my wheels. I'm not really sure what's going to happen right now, but I am going to just do my best. Can I raise this up a tiny bit? And I'm going to go to p5.js.org and processing foundation.org and processing.org. Okay. Oh boy, I don't want to be at processing.org because it's got this bit. I need to make a new video for the homepage of processing.org. Okay? Somebody get me to do that. And my phone is ringing. How do I turn off the notifications on this? So me, in terms of a pull request, let me talk to Cassie, who's the creator of the web editor, and see, take her temperature on that and whether that's going to get in the way of other things that are happening. But I'm interested in that as a feature, and I'm loath to add extra preferences. So anyway, we'll have a discussion about that. Sorry, Mia and Sumu was asking about whether to actually pull request, making this flipping thing a feature of the web editor itself. Okay. Let's see, what can I go to? Reference? Yeah, that's good. Or exhibition, maybe. Exhibition will be good. Okay. It's bothering me that my laptop is kind of off, but I also want to be further this way. Let's see, all the way, 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 all the way. Perfect. All right. I'm ready. Okay. I'm going to wing it. That's what I always do. I could always do it again, right? You guys won't mind too much when I remake the content again. I rewatched about a week ago my other intro to P5 video, and in that video, I said, I said in the middle, boy, this is completely different than my last attempt, but I wasn't live streaming at the time, so clearly I had done it a few times. I also thought that video was kind of terrible when I watched it. I was like, this video is terrible. So anyway. All right, I'll use it. Hello! Welcome to the first video in what is a playlist of many, 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 probably too many videos about learning to code. If you have never written any code before, if you've never programmed before, if you don't know anything about programming, it's my intention for this playlist to be for you. So this is the first introductory video. I'm just going to talk about the pieces of the puzzle that I'm going to use throughout this video series. And show you where all those things are and kind of a little bit about the history of those things, just to get started in learning to code. Learning to code, you don't have to know anything. And all you need is a computer with a web browser to follow along. You don't have to download anything, install anything. I'm so excited about that. Now, here's the thing. If you choose today, August 31st, 2018, if this is the time of the recording, there's many videos that follow this in the playlist. Many of those videos were done a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. They're using the same exact stuff that I'm going to show you, but the screen is going to look a little bit different. So I'm starting over because there's a new tool that just came out today called the p5.js web editor, and it's the tool that I want to use for people following this tutorial series. So the first few videos will have that tool in it, and the rest of the videos are just going to have the same concepts that you could keep using in that editor, and maybe someday all of them will be replaced. I have no idea. I'm going to stop talking about that. That's not the important part, but I wanted to make that clear if you happen to be, if you just want to like race ahead and see all the videos. All right, so what does it mean to learn to program? What does it mean to program? What it means to program is to write instructions for the computer to follow. Now, this can happen in a number of different ways, but you need a programming language which provides a syntax. Okay, I was doing fine, but then I needed to stop for a second. I feel like I can always stop and we can have an edit point when I'm doing the thing where I come over here. I don't know why I'm coming over there. All right, I will address this. Luca asks, I'm curious, why are you making a whole other series when you've already done it? It's a very valid question, and I'm not confident it's a good decision to do this in terms of, given infinite time, it would definitely make sense. But I do think it's important. It is hard for people to follow that tutorial series because there's not a sort of central. I want to restart it with the P5 web editor. So, okay. Okay. Okay, what does it mean to program the computer? What it means to program the computer is to write a set of instructions for the computer to follow. You, right now, as a human being, could write me a set of instructions to follow. You could say, do some jumping jacks, and you could say, touch your nose and touch your head, and like, I don't know, stretch your hamstring muscle, which is a thing that I really need to do with all these back problems that I have. But that aside, what was I talking about? Oh, that's the kind of thing that we can do with each other as human beings. But there's something interesting about that, right? If you said to me, do some jumping jacks, I'm able to do them. You could say, Thank you, Mathieu, for being an editor. I didn't have an editor in the past. You could say, do some jumping jacks. You could say, jump up and down with your hands going up and your feet going out. You could say, please, would you do some jumping jacks? Or jumping jacks do. Jumping jacks do. You could say it in all sorts of different ways, and through kind of human interpretation, I could understand what you're trying to say and interpret it and follow your instructions. Programming the computer to do something is a different process. You have to be very, very specific, and you can't get things out of order or make a slight mistake or miss a word or miss a piece of punctuation, and this is called syntax. This is like probably the least interesting thing to start talking about when you start talking about learning to program, but the reason why I was thinking about it is because you need a particular language in which to communicate with the computer. And languages can be high level or low level, meaning they can sound more like common language, or they can sound more technical and cryptic. They can be manipulating the internal memory and guts of the computer directly, or they could be just writing some instructions to something that sounds like English, but then is translated by some other system. 10 jumping jacks was good. I'm going to start this part over. Just give me a couple mulligans on this. Eventually I'll get into the rhythm of this. Pseudocode, yes. Describe, right. You should start with pseudocode. That's a good, Kelly Murphy is giving me a good, some good suggestions. I just want to kind of hit the bell. Okay. So what does it mean to program? So what I mean by programming, coding, is writing instructions for the computer to follow. And you might think of that, and in this course, the way that I'm going to start, it's going to be all about writing instructions for the computer to draw a picture. Now there's many different applications of coding related to data and sound and music and text and websites, but the place that I'm going to start in this course is drawing pictures and animation. It's not the correct way or the best way even to learn to program, but it's the way that that I'm comfortable with and that I think is well suited for a certain audience and perhaps you watching this. If not, I don't know. So I might say something like draw a rectangle. And that's the instruction, and then the computer draws a rectangle to the screen. I might say something like draw 10 rectangles, and then the computer would draw 10 rectangles to the screen. This is much like how you might say to me, do a jumping jack, and I would do this, or do 10 jumping jacks, and I would do 10 jumping jacks. Well, there was something about stretching my hamstrings that I said earlier. That was a good joke that got cut out. Shoot. This is getting better. This is getting better. I gotta get the hamstring thing in there. I think I have it in my head now. Have you guys ever seen the movie Groundhog Day? Welcome to Groundhog Day. All right, so what does it mean to program the computer? So what it means to program the computer is to write a set of instructions for the computer to follow. And the way that I'm going to frame that for the purpose of this course is all about writing instructions for the computer to draw pictures. So in other words, you could imagine a window on the computer's screen and you're providing instructions for things that should appear in the window. Draw a rectangle, draw a blue rectangle, draw 10 rectangles, draw a rectangle, then a circle, then a rectangle, and a circle, and alternate the colors black and white, black and white, black and white. There are so many ways that we could think about how we might, in English or whatever your native language is, instruct the computer to follow some algorithm. An algorithm being a series of steps to execute to solve a problem. Writing code is code instructions to execute an algorithm, a series of steps to solve some particular problem. Now, in this course, we're not going to necessarily solve, hopefully you might solve some problems, but you can also just play around and experiment and make beautiful pictures, and that's where we're going to start. But we need some way of doing this together. Drawing a rectangle, drawing a circle, the computer doesn't understand that. You and I can understand that if we speak the same language, or even if we don't, we might be able to use body language or some other way of kind of human intuition to communicate. But the computer requires specific syntax. And the syntax that you need, the syntax is defined by the programming language you choose to write your code in. And boy, oh boy, oh boy, you know, Google, go have fun Googling what's the best programming language to learn in 2400 and, that doesn't make any sense, 2040, whatever time in the future that you're watching this video. I'm not going to worry myself with any of that stuff. I'm going to pick something. I'm going to pick a programming language called JavaScript. The reason I'm going to pick it is because it happens to be one that I know a little bit. And it also happens to be one in which there is a particular library, and I'll talk about what that is. That is a library of code, of helper functions, of things that'll help you along in JavaScript called p5.js. And this is a particular library that's created by a nonprofit organization called the Processing Foundation. I'll include lots of links about the Processing Foundation and all of its initiatives. It's an open source project, which means it is all there, available. All about how p5.js works is all available for you to learn and find out about. And as a beginner, one of the missions of p5 is beginners learning to code aren't just users of p5, but can be contributors to p5. So you can participate in helping to make this tool that you are learning to use. And I encourage you to get involved with that, and I'm happy to help facilitate that. So by the way, p5.js also grew out of another project that's part of the Processing Foundation, which is just called Processing. It uses, this is very confusing, I realize. I'm going to stop talking about different programming languages in a second. It's built on top of a programming language called Java, which sounds a lot like JavaScript. And in fact, JavaScript was named JavaScript because at the time, Java was like this super cool thing to use. And it still is for me, I suppose. I mean, I like it, but I don't know if you've ever been to one of those web pages where it's like giving you lots of error messages about a Java applet. It's not so well suited for sharing on the web, and JavaScript is the programming language of the browser. So if you want to make this strange picture, which is square, circle, square, circle, square, happen in the browser by writing instructions in JavaScript, you can use the p5.js library. You can share it instantly with your friends, with your family, with your coworkers, with your fellow students. You can get feedback. I'm going to show you how to do all of this in this video series. Pause, 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 pause. Now again, it's important to note this is not the only way to learn to program. You know, if you were here in the room with me, I would ask you to just like shout out the names of other programming languages you know about. And you might say like Python or C Sharp or COBOL or PHP or I don't know, something else there, Java, blah, blah, blah. We could keep going on, and these are in no particular order. My goal for you in this course is to learn about the concepts of programming, to be creative with programming, to discover how to realize your own ideas through coding. And this is a nice place for us to start. We're going to get the benefit of being able to put our stuff instantly in the web browser. And if someday you discover some of these other tools make sense for other projects you would like to learn, this is going to give you a foundation of knowledge for that. In this playlist, in this series, and all of the videos that I'm going to make, that I'm going to walk you through learning to code, you will also, somewhat by accident, learn a little bit about something called HTML and CSS. HTML and CSS are the other pieces of the puzzle for making something appear on a web page. I'm going to focus on JavaScript, and you're not going to see anything about HTML and CSS for quite a while. But there's these underlying other mechanics for how content is formatted and styled to appear on a web page. So while this is not a web development course, because I don't know anything about web development, you might by accident learn to do some web development by taking, well, you're not really taking this course, but by watching these videos and following along. What have I missed? This is actually being recorded right now as part of a live stream. Let me go check, see if there's any questions. All right. Oh, I forgot. I should have mentioned like Scratch or Blockly. Those are some good feedback. Any questions? All right, I'm looking in the chat. I do have a CSS tutorial, and I will be. Yes. So my goal, I wish I had a regular schedule, but I hope to be here every Friday, continuing doing this stuff, and other things too. If you've ever written COBOL, Niels writes, if you've ever written COBOL, PHP will become the greatest language of all time. Yeah, I shouldn't have gone down a list of programming languages. It's all people are going to talk about. I forgot jQuery. That's not a programming language. It's like a okay. All right. Enough with the request. All right. So, okay. So let me pull up the. I just want to get that Medium post up again so I can reference it. Oh my God. Wait a minute. Oh, hello, p5, sorry. Um, I'm sad. I'm very sad that the joke with the stretching of the hamstrings and my back problem is not going to make it into the final cut. I will have to live with that. But there's a mouse arrow in the way here. Okay, all right. All right. All right. Let me move on with this. I think that was fine. It is what it is. And now I'm going to move on. All right, so I'm wrapping up this first video, this sort of introduction. I suppose I should probably introduce myself a little bit if this happens to be the first video that you're watching. No, I don't need to forget about that. All right, so I'm wrapping up this video. And then the next video is really where I'm going to get started. I'm going to show you, hey, this is what you type. And then this is what happens. And this is why this happens when you type it. And this is what happens if you type it this way. This breaks it, but this way fixes it. And we're just going to rinse and repeat and rinse and repeat and do that over and over again for all the little fundamental pieces and building blocks of learning to create your own software. But I want to just show you a few URLs that you can sort of poke around and read about before you move on to the next video if you're interested. So this is the p5.js website. This is the website that has a place where you can sort of learn about the p5.js project. This reference page is going to be very important because it's the place we're going to look up, like, I forgot what this thing does. We're going to look at the reference page. This learn page has some additional tutorials that you could look at. There's lots of examples here that we could click around and play with. I'll just show you one right now. Let's go to soft body and you can see, like, oh, this looks fun. So this is the kind of thing that you're going to learn how to do. How do you draw a shape with an algorithm? How do you define a set of steps to draw something? And then how do you control its motion and behavior? I don't like that I picked that one. Let me try that again. We could pick an example to look at, like the game of life here. The game of life is a particular type of generative algorithm. I'm going to run it again, which involves lighting up cells on a grid, black, white, based on what's next to it, and creates this fun, biological, crazy... What's one that I'll just the flocking one. I always should just do the flocking one. We could pull up one of these examples, like I could click on this one called flocking, and you can see, oh, look how slow that is. No, bad. Game of life was better. What is with all these? Game of life was better. Snake game! Oh my God, there's a snake game example! How convenient! I'm really stuck here. I'm getting all like sweaty, like feeling very stressed out. I'm gonna go back to the game of life. I could just click on an example like game of life here, and we can see, this is the code. What is going on here? This looks crazy. Look at all this syntax and punctuation and stuff. By the end of this whole playlist of series, this will make, so does that ever make sense to anybody looking at code that you didn't write? I'm not really sure. But you will start to understand what the pieces are. What is the process for building up a particular project like this? And this is a well-known algorithm called the game of life. It's a mathematical algorithm that involves how cells on a grid turn black or white based on what the other cells are doing. And it's kind of like this bacterial like simulation. So, oh, there's so many things we can do. I actually have a whole video tutorial building this up from scratch that you could go and find, but stay with me here. So this is the p5.js website. Once again, I want to mention p5.js was made, actually, one other thing I want to point out here is I want to go here on community. I think it's, P5 has a really wonderful community statement, which is really important. So I encourage you to go to the P5.js community statement and read it. P5.js is created by the Processing Foundation. I'll show you the Processing Foundation that runs a fellowship program, and here's a whole lot of people. Lauren McCarthy is the creator of the P5.js library. You can learn more about how did this project come about by looking at the Processing Foundation website. The original processing project, which is the Java-based platform, if you're looking for inspiration, I in particular recommend this exhibition page where you can find really lots of interesting and beautiful interactive projects made with code. Okay, now, here's the part that I'm so excited about, because this is like this is a project 2 years in the making, but it's brand new in terms of its announcement today at the time of me making this video. The P5.js web editor. This is an editor that you can use and write code in the browser, save your projects, share your projects with, look, there's that Game of Life thing again, without anything. They don't need to download anything at all. And I'm going to show you how, look, there I am, that's weird. And I'm going to show you how to use the P5.js editor while you're learning to code. I do want to mention that if you are interested in all of the features of the web editor, watch this video by Cassie Tarakazian. This is not a beginner programming video, but it's a video for people who might know a little bit about programming already to see what all the things the web editor can do. She walks you through all of the features. Accessibility is a core feature of the P5 web editor. If you are low vision or blind, there are a lot of features built into the web editor to allow you to code with it. And Matura talks about all the people who contributed to that effort and those accessibility features in this video, as well as if you are a teacher and you want to teach with P5, maybe you want to use these videos or make your own or write your own curriculum. Saber Khan, who does education outreach for the Processing Foundation, talks about that in this video. And I am planning to make my own series about how to use the P5 web editor and Google Classroom together. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned. I'll be making a video on that. Okay, so now this is the P5 web editor. There it is. So, oh look, this is some code. That doesn't look so bad. Function setup, what is that? Create canvas, what is that? Background 220, what is that? Function draw, what is that? This is all the stuff that I'm going to talk about precisely in the next video. So in the next video, I'm going to show you what kinds of things can you type here, what ends up happening over here when you type them, and why. And we're just going to go from there. Video after video after video, adding this piece, then this piece, then this piece, and by the end you can make your own interactive animated game, artwork, data visualization. Who knows? You're going to be much more creative and come up with something much better than I could possibly imagine right now, okay? So if you're excited about that, great. Keep on watching. There's also lots of other things in the world besides programming, like, so you could go do that stuff too. And especially like being with people and hugging your neighbors and stuff like that. Maybe that sounded weird. I didn't mean for that to sound weird. I'm gonna go now. I have to stretch my hamstrings because I've got some back problems, and that's gonna help. See, I got that in there. All right, see you all later in the next video. And everybody in the chat is talking about which programming language they love the best for whatever reason. All right. That's going to be okay, right? Me, I am so mean. Do I need to say something else at the end there? You guys can stop with the dab requesting because it's too much noise in the chat, so I'm not going to do it. Let's see. Oh, getting text message on my. I just got a text message from Cynthia Nixon about the New York governor's race. I was like, oh, Cynthia Nixon is texting me, and then I realized, no, I don't think that's a personal message. All right. I think it went well. Thank you, Marshall. Okay, so this is the good news is I have gotten past what is the harder part for me. Slack channel participants, when I'm done with the live stream today, if you are there, could you please remind me, I need to stay a little longer and make a quick intro for the actual NYU course that just talks about the NYU bureaucracy stuff. You're not missing anything. I just need to not forget that because the course launches on Tuesday. This is not the eraser that I use. And I want to make sure I have that. Okay. All right. Okay. So, oh, it looks like I got a super chat. Thank you to Mr. Ugla. Help, I am watching an insane man Babylon. Indeed, that is exactly what you are doing. Okay. All right. So. All right. Oh, I do need p5.js.org. All right. Okay. So I'm going to do drawing. I got to talk about drawing coordinate systems and shapes in this video. All right. All right, so I guess I'm going to do this flip thing. That's weird but I think maybe I still need to I mean, the thing is, if I'm going to do this, then what's the point of doing the flip thing? I mean, I could just leave it like this. But I could also do this and flip, and I could kind of come over more this way. And then I have more, I don't know. How do I, this is so, oh, there it is. Ah. Like I could do this, and then like if I'm just, whoa. And then, if I'm saying like, just try to figure this out. So, I mean, I'm talking about the code. We see it over here. I mean, I can kind of do this and imagine that I'm referencing the screen. Anybody have any feedback about the layout thing? So these are my options. Kind of use just part of the screen and stand kind of off to the right, but have the code over there. So it's okay if I'm a little bit in front of this while I'm talking. I think this is the best, because then I can sort of back off and talk about this, or I can kind of move over and talk about this. I think I'm going to leave it like this for right now, but at first I'm going to do this so then the video starts. It's like this. I know everybody watching is about 30 seconds behind me. So, oh, I should have I guess I need to make something about signing up for an account. All right, so let me. Oops. No, at the moment, the reason why I don't want to do that, yeah, there's some. Okay. So the one problem I have, people are commenting on the layout stuff, and it's a little bit unfortunate, but I have no idea what you're referencing because you are like 30 to 45 seconds at a different time. So so Matthew, I don't know what you meant. And there's also the dark theme. I think, yes, let me just check that. There's dark, which I could use, but if I do that, I definitely need to use the high contrast. I think this actually looks better on on YouTube, the white one. All right, I'm gonna use my own instincts here, and I'm gonna do it like this. Yellow on left, then code, then window. Oh. Got it. Editor on right. Okay. Boy, this is way too hard for me to decide. Coding on the right, canvas on the left. Okay, great. So I'm going to do this, but I'm going to leave myself a little bit of buffer zone here. Okay. The reason why I went to incognito mode was to have a view of it without being logged in. Okay. Coding on the right, canvas on the left. Okay, great. That's what everybody seems to be saying. All right. In the wrong. Shoot. What time is it? Oh, it's not even 6 o'clock. That's a good sign. Because I think this will be pretty fast, even though I waste so much time in between. I appreciate everybody saying let's use the dark theme. I'm a little bit concerned about how that's going to look. Just in terms of seeing it on the monitor, it looks weird. But you are all actually watching. Yeah. Right. Hi. Let me just try it. Settings. This is actually pretty good. So I think I'm going to leave it like this, high contrast. People are okay with the high contrast? So I'm going to change it to that, though, just to show that feature. This is the dark. I think it needs to be the high contrast. I prefer the high contrast. All right. Light theme looks better on YouTube. So I'm looking for, in the Slack channel, can I do this real quick? Sorry, everybody. This is kind of important to get this right. And in the poll that I just posted in the Slack channel, when I say dark, no, dark means the high contrast. I'm not going to do the dark without the high contrast. I don't think that's right. As a colorblind person, I appreciate the high contrast. Okay. Okay. Seems to be the popular one. Okay. So just so everybody knows, I am having it start like this, because this is what you're going to see by default, and I will switch it. All right. Thank you for everybody for bearing with me here. All right. Okay, I got to get started with this content. Hello, I'm back. So this is the first video where I'm actually going to start coding in P5 with the web editor. Yee-hee. That was weird. That was weird. Let's start over again. Hello, I'm back. In this video, I'm going to start coding in P5 with the p5.js web editor for the first time on this Coding Train YouTube channel. So if you go to, if you're following along, you should go to editor.p5js.org, and you will see something that looks like this. Now I'm in an incognito window here because I want to show you what it looks like being logged out. What you're going to see on the top right, you're going to see log in or sign up. So if you've already made an account, you'll want to log in, but more likely if you're watching this for the first time, you're going to want to click on sign up. This should be its own video because I think I need to, I think if I'm going to have a video about drawing with P5, you shouldn't have to watch even if it's just 5 minutes long about setting up this probably should have been in the previous video, but too late. All right, sorry, give me one more time here. Okay, hi. So I know I said that if you watch the previous video, I said the next video I'm gonna start coding. Apologies, I'm not gonna start coding just yet. I'm gonna do one more thing. I'm gonna show you how to get set up with the web editor itself. So the first thing you wanna do is go to a web browser. I'm using the Chrome web browser, but and I'm on a Mac, but you could be on any other computer and using a different web browser as well. You wanna go to the URL editor.p5js.org. That's where you want to go. You can follow along and go there right now. What you're going to see is something that looks like this. This is the web editor, and you can actually just start coding. But I'm going to show you what these things mean. But wow, what if I change this background number to 0? And then I run up here, and there's this button here, this button. It looks like a play button, like I'm going to play on my old-timey VCR. Well, really, this is going to run that code, and I'm going to see, oh, look at this. There's a square with a black background over there. What if I change this to 100 and I click play again? Ooh, the color of that changed. What if I say 100, 0, 200? Now the color's purple. So I'm off. The train is off the tracks. But I'm going to come back and explain what all these things are, how you type them, why you type them, and what they mean later. But the thing is, this is my opus now. I have made this beautiful, wonderful P5 sketch, and I want to share it with the world. I can't. I could go to File, and I can click Save, but it says, in order to save sketches, you must be logged in. So at the moment, the editor doesn't have any way to save something without you having an account. You can play around, but what you'll want to do is go to Sign Up. So if you might already have an account, you can go to Log In. I'm going to click Sign Up. And here what you can do is you can create a username, an email, and a password. And if you don't have your own email address, you can, and you have a parent or somebody else that you can ask to use their email address to sign up, that's what I would suggest doing. So you want to create that account. You don't need to use your email other than just for the signing up. So once you've signed up and you've logged in, I'm going to leave this, you're going to see something like this. Now I created an account called Coding Train, and it will say hello, the username that you picked. So you'll see that. You can go under here under my account. You can see there's things like my sketches, my assets. This is something that I'm going to show you how you can use images and sounds and upload videos to the editor. Those are things that would appear in my assets. Settings is something I'm going to show you in a minute. But now we're in P5 itself. Now I want to go back to my beautiful opus, where I don't know why yet, but somehow I changed some numbers and I got this beautiful color over there. Now I can go to File, Save. Once I've done that, this URL up here is a URL forever that is my sketch. And in fact, I can go right up here to File, share, and you can see, look, now I can share the code for my sketch here. I can actually share a full screen version of the sketch. Let's look at this. Look, here's my beautiful sketch. And I'm going to show you how to make more interesting things and then share them without the code. And then this is something called an embed. So if you have a blog, this is something where you can actually take your sketch and embed it into something else. I'll come back and show you this stuff maybe again as we get further along. I'm not going to worry about it too much right now. Okay, so we've got it. Here's the thing. What is the name of this project? What is the name of this project? If I zoom in here, the name of the project is Unbiased Shoe. So this is one of my favorite things about the P5 web editor. It will auto-generate a name of each sketch for you. Now, the truth of the matter is you probably want to have some practice of renaming and naming it something that describes what it actually is. I can click this pencil icon and I can call it Coding Train Editor Demo. I can hit enter, and now the sketch has that name. The URL, this name is not part of the URL for sharing that sketch. It's just a name for you to keep track of. If you ever go to, for example, File, Open, actually, it's telling me I need to save it first. So I'm going to go to File, Save, and then I'm going to go to File, Open. Oops, didn't save. Hold on, I found a bug. File, open, my account, my sketches. Oh, why? Why is it not saving? Weird. Hold on, everybody. Save. Project saved. I remember this happening. I remember this bug. We're going to fake it for the purposes of this. Weird. So it shouldn't be, it's saved. It shouldn't be, I don't know what's going on. I'm going to choose not to worry about this. Yeah, there we go. I'm going to choose not to worry about this and just ignore it for a little bit. Yeah, yes, it probably is saving. It's just sending the prompt anyway. We're going to have to investigate that. So Matt, you're going to have to do some magic editing here. So I could save it, and then I could go. I could now go to File, Open, and I could see. Look, these are other sketches. Now, Measly Friend is some sketch I must have created that I forgot to rename. 10print is something that I was creating. So you can see these are the sketches that I have made, and I could go and browse my other ones. Okay, now here's the thing. For me to make my tutorials, I want to adjust a few settings visually for how it looks to make it easier for the viewer to see it. And so I'm going to go here under Settings. And one thing I could do under Settings, I've already changed the text size to 36. I'm going to go to this high contrast theme. And then I'm going to close X here, and we're going to see this is a nice high contrast theme. It has a dark background. It also is easily viewable for anyone who's colorblind and any visual impairments. So I think it's going to be nice for the video tutorials to use that theme. I also would prefer to make sure that I'm not standing in front of the code by accident. So I'm going to do something a little bit weird that I'm going to happen to mention in this video. I'm going to move the code window to the other side. This is not a feature of the editor. I have someone, Coding Train contributor, sent me some code that I was able to hack the browser, and I can put the code on the other side, and I can see the preview over here. So I am going to, sorry, if you bear with me for a second, I am now, in my videos, I'm going to have it look like this. At some point, that might become a feature of the editor if other people need this ability to flip where the locations are, or if you really need to know how to do that, I'll provide some instructions in the video description about how to add a little button to your web browser to flip this back and forth. But I'm going to leave it this way. I think this is going to allow me to code in a way that you can see the code over here, and if I'm standing in front of the output every so often, no big deal. Okay, again, this was not comprehensive. If you want a comprehensive overview of all of the features of the web editor, I will link to the Processing Foundation playlist. There's 3 videos about P5 and the web editor. Cassie, the creator of the web editor, does an overview. Matura talks about the accessibility features, and there's a video about education with P5 from Soper as well. So, okay, so now, if you somehow made it to the end of this long rambling video, I will really code in the next video. In the next video, I'm going to talk about what are the commands, the instructions, what is the syntax of JavaScript with the p5.js library to get things to appear right over here. See you there. Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot to show that you could log in with GitHub or Google. I mean, is that a big deal that I missed that? Let me tack that on here. Just going to log out. One more quick thing that I want to mention, actually. Thank you to some live viewers who pointed this out. If you don't want to sign up for a new account, you can actually log into the P5 web editor with an account that you already have with Google or with a website called GitHub, which if you don't know what that is, I have some other videos you could watch, but you don't see those on the sign up page. So those don't show here, but if you go to the login page, you can see these options here, log in with GitHub or log in with Google. So that's another way of logging in to the editor. I wonder if that can be spliced in the middle. Mathieu, if you can figure out a way to splice that in the middle, that would be great. Is there a possibility to get to share code with other users? Absolutely. You absolutely can. Okay. I'm sure I missed stuff. I'm doing my best. All right, flip. Oh, it doesn't remember like how I do that, but that's fine. Okay. Why is it not saving? This is a little bit distressing that this seems to be a bug, that this should go away. Oh, thank you, Austin, for that bookmark. All right, I don't know what's the deal with the saving thing, but I'm going to choose not to worry about it. Yeah, weird. Oh, wait, hold on. Let's just see. Okay, no problem. And okay. All right. What do we got? 6 o'clock? We're doing well. We're doing well. Every time I walk over here to cycle the camera, my phone is on the floor charging and I see all these notifications. I got to turn it upside down. It's really distracting me. Turning it upside down. Okay. It also does autosave. All right. Okay. Yeah, the sketch is still running, but you should be able to, people are saying like maybe it's not saving because the sketch is running. I don't think so. It's meant to be able to save and reload while whether it's running or not. That shouldn't affect its ability to like save. Okay. By the way, doing this, where is the, oh yeah, this is over here now. That's a little bit weird. So one thing that I don't love about what I just did is, but I'm not going to get to that until later. So, yeah, that should probably, by the way, in this bookmarklet thing, we should probably have the sidebar open up here. If somebody wants to help with that. Okay. Hello. Okay, it's time. It is time to start talking about and writing some code. What's going on here? You can see already that there's this function setup, function draw. What is that stuff? There's curly brackets, there's parentheses. Let's hold off on that for a second. Let's not get too worked up about that. Let's focus just for a moment on create canvas, parentheses, 400, 400, close parentheses, semicolon. I'm going to write that out in a generic way. I'm going to say something like instruction. Another word for that might be command. And the truth of the matter is, the actual technical name for what I'm writing here is a function name. Function name. Instruction, can you see that? Yes. Instruction, parentheses, some number, comma, some other number, I don't know, comma, some other number, comma, dot, dot, dot. Well, let's not put that there. Close parentheses, semicolon. This is the syntax for executing an instruction for the computer to follow. The name of the instruction, parentheses that open and close, followed by a semicolon, and some number of things in between. That number of things could be 0, it could be 1, it could be 2, it could be 3, it could be 4. It depends. So now, if we go back to create canvas, we can see, look, the instruction is create canvas, parentheses, 400, 400. So ask yourself, pause the video for a second, what does 400 mean and what does 400 mean? I mean, it means the number 400, but like, why is it the number 400? What is it doing? Okay, are you back? Did you think about it? Well, one way to try to figure this out is for me just to say, well, why don't we just change the number to 200? And nothing changed. Why didn't it change? Because it ran the program already. I have to tell it to rerun the program. Oh, it's half as wide, but just as tall. By the way, there's this interesting button over here, auto refresh. So notice how I changed the code and then I had to run it again? That was a little bit inconvenient. I mean, it's not so bad. I'm happy to do it as often as I need to. But things might be a little more convenient if I select that. Because now what if I change this to 300? Whoops, 300. Change this to 400. Why don't I change this to 800? It's always going to update the drawing, the result of the instructions here if I have that auto refresh clicked. I'm going to go back to 400 and 400. So what those numbers define is the width and height of this thing called the canvas. This is the drawing canvas. It's the thing that we're going to write instructions to draw stuff into, move things around, interact with things all eventually. And the syntax for making this is create canvas 400, 400. Interestingly, what happens if I delete this? Woo. So P5, by the way, will always put a canvas there for you. If you forget to say create canvas, it made a canvas there for you, but it just didn't know how big to make it, so it picked some arbitrary size, probably 100 by 100. But let's put that back. There's 400 by 400. There's a really important thing that I want to talk about. But let's come back over here. So create canvas. This is the function name. Let's use the real terminology. You can think of it like a command. Create canvas. That's your command. These are called the arguments. I think earlier I didn't actually say this, but if you were giving me instructions to do some exercises and you said, do some jumping jacks, I would say how many. You need to modify, you need to provide parameters for how I should execute the instruction. The instruction is create the canvas with a size of 400 by 300 pixels, meaning create an area on the screen that I can draw to that's 400 pixels wide, 300 pixels high. If the concept of pixels is new to you, on a computer screen, every single color that you see is, if you zoom way into it, is a single dot. Now there's all sorts of weird, funny business going on because we have all these high density displays now that have multiple pixels for every pixel. But all that aside, the idea here is if I were to zoom way in, way in, and count all the dots, there'd be 400 of them. And there's 400 wide, and let's change this to 300 just so we can see that it's a little bit different. 400 by 300. So this is the idea. Now, we have to ask a really important question. I've totally forgotten to bring this up. What is the difference between JavaScript? We haven't even really gotten to the drawing stuff yet, but don't worry, we will. JavaScript and P5. Is create canvas P5 or is it JavaScript? Is 400, 300 P5 or is it JavaScript? This is not an easy question to answer, and it's a question that I hope will resolve itself for you over time as you program more and more and learn about other libraries besides P5 that work with the JavaScript language. But the key thing is here, the language, the syntax, the fact that you need parentheses and commas and semicolons and names of functions go here, that is the JavaScript language. To call a function in JavaScript is to write the function name followed by parentheses with commas for the arguments and a semicolon. That's JavaScript. Create canvas is a function that exists that is defined inside of the P5 library. So if you did not have P5, if you weren't using the P5 web editor, you were in some other environment and you wrote create canvas, you might get an error message saying, I don't know what create canvas is. All programming environments and editors allow you to import other libraries, but the P5 web editor has done this for you. So the fact that we can execute P5 commands, write create canvas, and there's a lot more of them, is because we're using the P5 library. The way we execute that command, where the semicolon goes, where the parentheses go, where the commas go, that is all the JavaScript language itself, the syntax. I hope that gives a little bit of clarity. There's more to it than that. You'll have many more questions, but hopefully I'll keep answering that as we go. All right, so now, where can I find out about other commands that I can write besides create canvas? And when I say commands, I really mean functions, but I like to use the word command at least at the beginning because it's a little clearer to talk about what it is we're actually doing here, you and me. But technically, these are functions that we're calling. Okay. All right, so the answer to that question is the p5.js website. If I go to the p5.js website and I click on this link called reference, this link on reference has every single function that's part of the P5 library. So somewhere on here I could do a find. We can find create canvas. And I could click on create canvas and learn more about create canvas. This is known as the documentation. Programming languages and programming libraries and frameworks, they should at least have documentation where you go to read about how the thing is supposed to work. I could make like thousands and thousands of videos and just go through every one of these and explain it to you. But learning to program is not just learning how to write the instructions and the syntax, it's learning how to read documentation. So the functions that I want you, if you're watching this video series, which I guess you are, to follow first are the ones that are under 2D primitives. This is where we're going to start. There are lots of functions, and go and explore them all, don't listen to me. But for your first exercise after you watch this video, just limit yourself to triangle, rect, which is short for rectangle, quad, which is any shape that has 4 vertices to it, 4 sides, edges, point, which is a single point, line, which is a line, ellipse, which is a fancy name for circle, but it could be sort of squashed. And arc. So all of these, arc probably needs its own video to talk about how arc works. But you can explore these and experiment with them. let's just make a guess. Let's start with rect for rectangle. And let's not even click on it yet. I'm just going to go over here. And now I need to talk about what setup and draw are. What are these blocks of code? Why do they start with a curly bracket and end of bracket? I'm going to come back to that. For right now, we should understand that setup is the place where create canvas goes. At the beginning, we're going to set up our canvas. Draw is the place where I'm going to put my stuff to draw stuff to the canvas. There's more to it than that, but that's the way to think about it right now. So I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to say, I'm going to zoom back out, RECT, find out what it means to me. I'm going to put some numbers in there. Shout them out. I can't hear you, sorry. I'm going to say like 100, 50, 25, nothing's there yet, 75, 785, 75. Look at that. Suddenly there's a rectangle there. So even just through guessing, right, we know the name of the instruction, rectangle, rect, R-E-C-T. We know that we need to then put maybe some numbers in between parentheses and then end with a semicolon. We could just try. I mean, weirdly, like, could I put another number there? Oops, I messed up. Could I put another number there? Oh yeah, oh look at that. What did that do? So what's going on? So you know what, I'm gonna actually take the time to explain the rectangle function to you. Then we're gonna look at the reference page, and then I don't need to do really the other ones because you can then do this for yourself. You can type the command in, you can type the numbers in, you can sort of play around and guess, you can read the reference page and try to fix it. Then you can ask me questions in the comments and hopefully I'll be able to respond to you. All right, so let's come over here. So I need an eraser, time out for a second. We can edit this. Let's take a little break for a second so I can drink a little water. This is like really long, by the way. Does anybody have a guess as to like just this drawing video, like how much time I've spent so far? I mean, I tend to like take way too much time, I think. But I think this is like important pieces for the total beginner. All right. Yeah, Denny Den asks, could you put the background function in setup as well? Yeah, so this is definitely something that I'm going to come back to, and I think it's there in the future videos, but you absolutely could put the background function in setup. Yeah. All right. All right, I'm not getting any answers to that question that I asked, which I don't even remember what the question was. All right, let me cycle the camera since I'm over here. I should have done line, actually. I should have done line. I kind of want to go back and do line, but it's fine. Yeah, all right. Okay, so I need to give myself a little space here. And what I want to do is draw the canvas for you. Then what I want to do is write out this function rect. And I'm going to say 100. What did I put actually in here? I put 100, 50, 25, 75. 100, 50, 25, 75. So how do these arguments define the way to draw a rectangle, right? RECT means draw a rectangle. Here are the properties of the rectangle that I want to see. In order to understand what these numbers mean, we need a little bit of background knowledge about this two-dimensional space itself of the canvas. We need to think about something called a Cartesian coordinate system. So a Cartesian coordinate system, named for the French mathematician René Descartes, Cartesian, is a way of describing a two-dimensional space and saying like this spot can be identified by this quote-unquote XY position, or this horizontal and vertical position. If you've taken some type of math or geometry class, depending on where you are in your sort of learning the world journey, you might have seen a graph that looks like this, with some ticks on it, up and down, and you might have learned like, oh, this is something called the x-axis, and this is something called the y-axis. And if I say, here's a point 3, 4, I go, this is somehow the point 0, 0, the origin, the center. 3, 4 would be 1, 2, 3, go up, up, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 refers to this position right here within the Cartesian coordinate system. A 2D canvas being drawn by P5 is also a Cartesian coordinate system, but it's a little bit confusing because the default, the standard way a coordinate system when pixels and computer graphics is defined does not look exactly like this. The equivalent of this 0, 0 being the origin is actually up here at the top left. And this is the x-axis, horizontal. This is the y-axis. So if I were to say 3, 4 and try to find that pixel, I would have to go 1, 2, 3 pixels over and 1, 2, 3, 4 pixels down. 3, 4 would be this pixel right here. The truth of the matter is the pixels are really, really tiny. Right? This is very similar to a piece of graph paper, and that might be a way of kind of like playing, you could stop and go get a piece of graph paper and try to like, draw a big canvas on it and try to position where things are. That's the idea of what we're doing here. The pixels are really tiny, so in many ways, so you have to more imagine like this is 0, this is pixel 0, and the width is 400, and this is gonna make you a little bit crazy. The last pixel is actually pixel 399. Oh, that's so weird. Think about that though. I'm a little bit off on a tangent here. That's not, but it comes up again and again. Let's say it's 5 pixels wide. There are 5 pixels, but the first pixel is 0. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Ha! 5 fingers, but I only got up to 4. So this is like foreshadowing. This is going to come up again and again. Counting from 0 is a thing that we do a lot in programming, which is a little bit different. Because normally I want to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but there are 5 things, but there's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so pixel 0, pixel 399. So what does this mean, 150? This is the x location of the rectangle, and 50 is the y location of the rectangle. So let's just guess, maybe pixel 100 is about over here. Pixel 50 is about over here, so that's this pixel here. That's 150. This is the width of the rectangle, and this is the height of the rectangle. That's about 25 pixels, maybe that's about 75 pixels, so that is how we define the rectangle. The first 2 arguments are the xy of the top left, the third argument is the width, and the last argument there is the height. And there we see the rectangle. I clearly didn't draw this perfectly, but if we come back here, we can see that's exactly what you see right here. And I could start changing these numbers around, and I could say 150, and I could say 75, and I can move it over to 175, and it's going to be over there, and I can move it up to 0, and it's going to be there. So you can see, this is what you can play around with now, changing those numbers. I gotta get something off my chest. What we're doing here seems kind of like, this is what programming is? Are you crazy? It would be so much easier for me to do this in insert, commercial software that makes images or drawings here. That I don't want to buzz market for free. I'm waiting for, no. Anyway, the answer is true. This is only just the way I want to start. The whole point of programming is to write algorithms and instructions for saying things like spin around, move up and down, bounce off the edge. How could I turn this into the game Pong, where that's actually the paddle that moves up and down? I'm going to get there. But so this is a little bit of like not really how programming works, but it's a good place to get started and feel comfortable. And so basically, what your assignment is, if you choose to accept this assignment, is to make your own drawing. Make your own drawing. Maybe make a drawing of somebody, a friend of yours, or someone in your family, a little portrait of them, or a self-portrait, or do something abstract, or draw a landscape, or something that so I won't be able to. So just try to make a drawing. And how are you gonna? All I did was show you a rectangle. I've been like talking for like 2.5 hours. I only got was this rectangle on the screen. So how are you gonna do more than that? I'm gonna leave you to it a little bit. And let me show you how to get further. So I'm going to go back to the P5. Well, I don't know what that's here for. I'm going to go to the P5 reference, and I'm going to click on the rectangle function, right? This is where I am, remember, p5.js.org/reference. I'm going to click on the rectangle function. And we're going to see, first we're going to see, here's a nice little example. So this, at the very least, I could just take this and copy it. Oh, shoot, I have to go back here. I could copy it into my code. And we could see, okay, that's what the, does that look the same as what's here? Yeah, kind of. This is a smaller canvas, but it's the right idea. Oh, look, this, there's like another argument, and it's round, and there's all the others. So this is what you can explore. But the point here is that what I want to look at is this is what's really important. This is known as documentation. This is saying this is the name of the function, and these are the arguments. X, Y, W, H. These are other arguments. The reason they're in these square brackets is they're optional. So you have to use an X, Y, width, and height. You can optionally add more arguments. And here it's going to tell you what they are. X is the X coordinate of the rectangle. That's exactly what I explained to you over here. Y is the Y coordinate. W is the width. H is the height. And then there's these other optional ones for rounding the edges. And I'm gonna not worry about that too much. Rectangle was maybe not the best one to start with because of extra added complication. But I could easily just go over and now click on, say, line. And I can see, oh, look at this. This is what it looks like. The function name is line. It takes 4 arguments. This is what I get. What are those arguments? x1, y1, x2, y2. X is the x coordinate of the first point. Y1 is the y coordinate of the first point. Oh yeah, a line is a thing that connects 2 points. Look at that. I've connected 2 points with a line. So now I can come back here, and by the way, oh my God, Z, I could get into 3D. Let's not get into 3D right now. We'll save that for another time. So I'm going to go back to the editor, and I'm going to say something like line 0, 0, 400, 400. There we go, look at that. There's a line, oh, and maybe I want it to be 400, 300 because I wanted to go to the other side, or I want it to actually be like 0, 50. There's the line, right? You can see now that line is appearing. It is a line that connects 2 points, 0, 50 and 400, 300. Now, okay, something is really bothering me about the code. Don't be like me. Don't be much more forgiving and relaxed about the world. But I cannot tolerate the fact that this line of code right here is starting over here, and this one is starting a little bit over here. I'm kind of joking around, and look, there's a space here, but there's like no space after this comma. One thing that is important to note is this is going to work no matter what. If your code doesn't line up, or you put a lot of spaces in or a few spaces in, these types of things, white space, meaning space and return and tabs and all those sorts of things, do not affect the way the code runs, but they do kind of make the code a little less readable. And P5 has a really nice feature under Edit, Tidy Code, which you can also do Shift Tab, which will kind of fix the indentation and white space for you. So I'm going to press Shift Tab right now. Oh, and everything is all lined up. So I encourage you to use Shift Tab, save after you've done that. I didn't mention, by the way, that you can see when it's last been saved right up here. It says just now. That'll change into like a minute later. And it also has autosave, which you can adjust here in the settings. Autosave on and off. That's sort of an important little feature just to quickly mention. All right, so I'm almost ready to finish this video. One thing I gotta tell you. So first of all, why is the background pink and why is the rectangle white and the line is black? Well, I haven't talked about color at all. So that's the topic of the next video. These are arguments that define the dimensions and the location of shapes, but those arguments don't seem to define the color. So we're gonna have to look at how do we define color. The clue to that is somewhere in here, right? Background, the function must be setting the background color. So that's coming. Play around with that on your own if you want, but that's what I'll talk about in the next video. The other thing is, look at this. The line looks like it's going over this rectangle. What happens if I take this line of code? I'm going to use Command X for cut and Command V for paste. Now look at this. Zoom on in. The line is behind the rectangle. So the layering of the shapes, what appears on top or behind, has to do with the order of these lines of code. The order that the code happens is very important to how a program runs. Not so important right now, just drawing some shapes, playing around, experimenting, but this is a crucial concept that will come up especially once we want to animate this stuff. So that's going to come. How does this square move around? How can I interact with it with the mouse? And the order is going to become even more important then. Okay, so here's your assignment. Make your own picture. Don't listen to me and use whatever you want, but if you want a constraint, use only what's here under 2D primitives. And maybe not arc or the play with arc. And I'll have to make a video about arc or something. And can I show you one more thing? Do I want to show you one more thing? I think something that'd be really useful. I got to show you one more thing. Where is this one? Okay, attributes. These are some other functions that you might be interested in exploring. And I'm going to come back to stroke weight for sure. Some of these as we talk about color. But at least rect mode and ellipse mode are kind of important. So I'm going to just show you something about rect mode, which is that, remember how I said that this XY defines the top left location of the rectangle? Sometimes it's much more convenient to draw where a square or rectangle is by setting the center of it. And so that can also be done. Let me show you what I mean by that. For example, the center of this canvas, right? What's the center of the canvas? If it's 400 wide and 300 high, the center is 200 by 150, right? So I'm going to put this rectangle at 200, 150. And then I'm going to make it 150 wide and 150 high. Huh, that's weird. Oh, it's not in the center. Oh, but the top left is in the center. But what if I want the rectangle itself to be centered? Well, I could figure out the math for that. I'd be like, okay, so then it's like 125 maybe. It's like that's shifting it over. But I can use an attribute, and the attribute rect mode is another function. I can type center in here. This is an instruction, a function, to set the mode of drawing a rectangle to center, which means, now look at it, there it is in the center. Okay, so that was another important, so maybe in your exercise, you might want to use rect mode and ellipse mode as well. We could click on this and we could see, look, there's corner, there's corners, there's radius, there's center. So there's a few other ways of defining how a rectangle is, but I think for the most part, you're just going to want the default way, which is corner, or center, which is center. Okay, you know, when I said I was going to do these videos, I sort of imagined doing a whole bunch of like 2 or 3 minute ones, so I've completely failed at this. This became kind of a long one about drawing, but hopefully you got the basic idea, and I look forward to seeing what you make. You can share links to the P5 sketches you create after watching this video in the comments. So I'll click on them and look at them, and that'll be exciting. Okay? Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video where I'll talk about color. All right. How are we doing, everybody? I feel like I'm actually okay on time. It's 6:30, which is, I guess I've been live streaming for about 2 hours, and 3 hours is my hard limit. But I think I can do a bunch more things. All right. You know, somebody, I can't remember who, somebody on Twitter maybe sent me all this like really useful feedback. I gotta look this up. And I forgot to look at it right before I started. Oops, and the camera went off. That's good. So that wasn't more than a half an hour. I'd see in the chat, I don't know how far I'm going to get today. People are asking questions. Are you planning to do the whole tutorial today? I don't know what counts as the whole tutorial. I'm going to do the color one today. Then I think I'm done. I don't know how many of the other ones I'll redo. Line is off the canvas. There is no column 400, right? Okay. Okay. Sorry, I got distracted. I was like trying to find somebody's tweet. I started looking at Twitter. Way too much stuff going on. I'll be back. Let me just see if I can find it because there was like really good feedback in there, and I'm totally looking at it at the wrong time. Link to corresponding original videos in the details. Okay. Updated with ES6 notation, so that's good because I'm not worrying about that yet. Oh, all right. So these are good feedback, but it's actually not necessarily related to what I'm doing right now, so that's okay. Okay. So anybody who was watching this who's like actually a total beginner, anybody out there a total beginner watching this, following, trying this yourself, running into anything? Okay. Oh, no, Presmic, who is in the Slack channel, is asking, do you mean my feedback from last stream? No, that feedback is also really good. That was about the workflow setup stuff, and I do want to look at that. It was feedback about how since I'm redoing some of my older beginner videos, things that I could do to make them better. And the feedback there that I just found on Twitter was more about like the stuff that's later on. So, okay. So now what I'm going to do is, let's do the color thing. By the way, I probably, I guess I am who I am. You are what you are. But I do feel like that was way too long. Okay. All right, so let's talk about color. Let me cycle the cameras. Okay. All right. Here we go. Oh, let me save this. Let me do duplicate. Coding train, color. Okay. All right. All right, hi. Why is the background pink? That is the question that I would like to answer in this video. Color. Color is the next thing. You hopefully made, if you watched the last video, you hopefully made some beautiful, interesting, or not, it doesn't have to be beautiful, but you made your own drawing. And you're proud of it. I'm proud of you for making it. Now you want to add color. And you might have even looked ahead at how to do it and started adding color anyway. But if you didn't, I'm going to show you how to do that. Now, before I do that, I do want to mention some other kind of logistical things that I've kind of forgotten to mention. So one thing is, whenever I create a sketch with the P5 web editor, I'm going to put a link to that sketch in the video's description. So you can go down to the video description and click on it. And so if you go to the link to the sketch, you're actually going to go to a page that's going to look just like this. It's going to have the same code, and if you hit play, it's going to have the same output. Now you might have you might not have the dark theme with high contrast turned on, so your layout might look a little different, but ultimately the code is going to be the same. But when you won't have a save option, because you're looking at a project that I made in my account that I've shared with you. So bear with me for a second. I'm going to be right back. So this is going to edit. So I'm just going to go to some other sketch of mine. So many, oh my goodness, so many sketches. I want to find something really simple. Let's try this. So I'm back. Now this is another sketch that I've made for another course, and I'm going to kind of get to all this stuff and how all this kind of stuff works. But even now, look at all this complicated code. It kind of might make some sense to you, right? Oh, line, you know about that. Ellipse, you know about that. Ooh, what's this X and Y? This is all stuff we're going to get to. But this is a sketch called Oscillation by Nature of Code, which is a different account. So if I can edit this code, right? I could say like line, 100. And then, oh, it's doing something slightly different. I'm not sure what exactly. But there's no save option. Where's the save option? You're going to want to go to File, Duplicate. And suddenly you're going to see that it says Oscillation Copy by the Coding Train. And I could rename this, and I could say Oscillation Demo for YouTube or something. And I've renamed my sketch. But this is how when you go to a sketch that I've made, you will come to a page that says, color example by Coding Train, and you will then do File, Duplicate, and start writing your own. The truth of the matter is, the stuff I'm doing so simple, you don't necessarily need to duplicate my code to keep doing it, but that's an important piece as I go through future videos. I want to mention that at the outset of this video. Okay, I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to go away. Now we're back here. Color. How does color work on the computer? I should have thought of this before I started recording this video, but here's what I'm going to say it with 3 syllables. RGB. Remember this. RGB. RGB. R stands for red, G stands for green, B stands for blue. The way that you create a digital color is by mixing some amount of red, some amount of green, and some amount of blue. So that's where I want to start. But that's the concept. How do I apply that concept to function names and arguments of those functions? Well, actually, guess what? We have done that already. In here, there is a function that is talking about color. Background is a function that draws a solid color over the entire background of the canvas. And there is somehow 220 sprinkles of red, 0 sprinkles of green, right? RGB, those are the arguments, and 200 sprinkles of blue. And when you sprinkle that amount of red and that amount of blue, you get this pink. But let's just go with this. What if we take out all of the blue? You can see that's pretty red. What if I take out all of the red? Now it's black. What if I just put some like really big numbers in here, like just guess like 1,000? Look at that. Now we've got white. So all the colors all mixed together make white. That's weird, right? Because if you worked with paint and you were to mix all the color, like a whole lot of paint together, you get this like brown, muddy color, get darker and darker. This is the way that the color mixing is working here. It's like mixing light. So it's more, the analogy here is I have a red flashlight, a green flashlight, and a blue flashlight, and if I shine all those flashlights together in the same spot, they mix together, it's additive color. The more we add up all those colors, the brighter and brighter it gets. But actually, this is kind of wrong, the fact that I'm putting 1,000 in here. So the idea here is we're sprinkling a certain amount of red and a certain amount of green and a certain amount of blue. And by the way, there are other ways to set color. So I'll get to that. This is not the only way, because some of you watching are like, what about, I heard something about HSB color, and there's all sorts of other ways to do it, but this is the fundamental basic way. The amount that I can sprinkle has a range. No red, none more red is 0. The maximum amount of red is 255. By the way, how many numbers are there between 0 and 255 if you keep the 0? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 256. Again, we're back to this weird counting from 0 thing. So there's 256 possibilities, 0 through 255. So now we can go back and we can kind of see, let's come back to this and see, all right, 0, let's go back to 0, 0, 0. Let's do 200. Let's do 255. We can see that it's blue. Let's do 100,000. It's the same blue. So P5 is kind of smart enough to know when you call the background function, if you by accident put a number in there that's bigger than 255, just consider it 255. Now, you can customize those ranges for yourself, and there's reasons why you might want to do that. Again, I'm going to come back to that. You could look up the function color mode for how to do that. But let's just stay with the default. A red, a green, and a blue. So I'm not really very talented visual design-wise, so I'm not going to talk to you about how to pick beautiful colors that work well together. Hopefully you can find, you're going to have that talent yourself, I bet, or you might find some other resources, but this is how it works, RGB. One thing you might notice is, did you notice how when they were all 0, it was black, and when they were all 255, it was white? What happens if I make them all like 100? It's like this gray color. When R equals G equals B, when the red, green, and blue values are all equal, this is something known as grayscale color. Grayscale color is a color, it's saturation is a term that's desaturated. It's a color, but it's gray. 0 through 255, 0 being black, 255 being white. For shorthand, all of the color functions, and there's more of them, allow you to, if you want to do a grayscale function, you can skip having all 3, and you can just use 1. So if you put 1 argument in the background function, you're assuming a grayscale color. Let's make note of this, because there are a lot of different ways. So let's assume that there's some type of color function, right? Background being the one that we know right now. If it has 1 argument, this is grayscale. If it has 3 arguments, this is RGB. And you can make a gray color with the RGB being equal, but this is the way that you can call any color function. Now, what other color functions are there? Let's go to the P5 reference. I don't know why I don't have that open anymore. Let's look for color. Oh, look at those. So many things, setting. So we want, there's a lot of stuff about creating and reading color, and I'm definitely going to come back to that stuff. This is really what we care about, setting color. So these are, now you want to make your new sketch, your next assignment is to use any and all of these. Stroke, no fill, maybe color mode, clear, background. So background we know about. Whoops, I clicked on it by accident, but that's nice. We're looking at the reference. But we don't, fill and stroke are the next concepts that I want to talk about. So let's say we have, so what are the color functions? Don't use my fingers. So color functions could be background. That's one. Here's another one. Fill. Here's another one. Stroke. If this is our canvas, and the shape we chose to draw is an ellipse with the ellipse function, fill describes the interior of that shape. Stroke describes the outline, the outline of that shape. So let me show you what I mean by that. So if I come back to the editor, and I'm going to get rid of the line, and I'm just stay with just this rectangle. I'll leave background at 100. What I'm going to do is right before I draw the rectangle, I'm going to say fill, and I'm going to say 0, 0, 255. Look, I should show you about the console and errors. I can't believe I haven't shown you about that yet. Right? Look at this. It's blue. The interior of that shape is blue. Now I'm going to say, what's the outline? It's black. So by the way, the default fill in P5 is white, and the default stroke outline is black. But I could now say stroke 0, 255, 0, and I'm already driving myself crazy with my inconsistent white space, and we can zoom in and see the outline is now a green color. So the interior, the fill is blue, the outline is green. What if I were to do another shape like an ellipse and put that at like 50, 50, 100, 75. Well, look, it's also green on the outside and blue on the inside. What if I want that ellipse to be a different color? What if I put like down here, fill, 0, 255, 0? That didn't work. Why didn't that work? I'm saying fill green, that ellipse. Well, order, remember order. The ellipse, let's move the ellipse over. You see how the ellipse is on top of the rectangle? It's because it's drawn after it. But you need to set the color of what you're about to draw. Notice how fill and stroke are right before the rectangle. Well, that's set to blue, that's set to green. The ellipse is still picking up that fill and stroke. It's going to be, it's like you're saying, hey, computer thing that's drawing the stuff, pick up this pen. And I told it to pick up this green pen for the interior. I meant to make it red, but I told it after it already drew the ellipse. So let's make this red, because that's what I wanted to demonstrate. But if I go and I take this and I put it before it, suddenly it's red. So look at that. So I kind of want to group things. I can add some, the idea here is I can make a stroke that's like 255, so that's just using grayscale color. So you can see like, the interior here is blue, the outline is green, the interior is red, the outline is white. There we go. You probably have a lot of questions. Ask them in the comments. There's a few more things I need to cover in this video. Why, when we looked over here in the reference, is there a no fill and no stroke? And by the way, I encourage you to go and look at these reference pages and read them, because you'll find the things that I'm explaining to you are explained there and probably more clearly, and it also has examples. Why is there no fill and no stroke? Well, you might think to yourself, oh, what if I don't want this circle to have an outline? No outline of that circle, please. I'll just put 0 in here, right? 0 must be like no outline. But remember, 0 is not no outline. 0 is an outline that is black. And this is why instead of stroke, if I say no stroke, then suddenly there's no outline. So no stroke means no outline, and I could say also instead of fill, no fill means no fill. Look at that. So I'm just seeing the background color come through because I'm only drawing the outline of that shape. Now I'm going to go back and put the fill in. Oops. And I realize there's a few other things I want to talk about. Okay. So remember how I said there were lots of ways? Guess what? There's another way. I could have 1, 2, 3, 4. I could have 4. Woo! The fourth argument is, and so RGB is not the whole picture. There is also RGBA. And A stands for something called alpha. Okay? Alpha, I feel like I wonder if I should divide these videos up to shorter chunks. Yeah. I mean, I kind of want to. Like, because alpha could be its own video. I'm going to leave it long for now. That's just the way I'm doing it today. I can go back and redo these again. Oh, God. Okay. Alpha, A, which stands for alpha, alpha is a word for transparency. Meaning, is the color see-through? What does that even mean, right? Transparency. So by the way, the same range, right, 0 to 255 for the A, 255 is the default, meaning that color is just all there. It's another word, by the way, is opacity. So this idea of kind of making the color a little bit transparent so it starts to blend with what's behind it. Now, of course, this is all about just creating the illusion of that. There is no blending of the colors. There's no way painting your computer screen. It's just a single pixel with a certain color. But P5 knows that if you want it to appear transparent, it knows what color is behind it, and it can figure out how to make that illusion happen. So for example, if we come over here for this ellipse, right, this ellipse that's red, what if I were to add, if I were to say comma 255 here, nothing has changed. I'm adding that alpha value. If I put 0 there, it's gone. If it's fully transparent, I can't see it at all. If I make this 100, look at that. You can see how it sort of looks light and it's blending with the background and blending there. So maybe I want to just give it a little bit more, 175, and you can start to see that there. So this is something you can play with, transparency. So just to finish this whole thing off, I can have one argument for anything background fill and stroke is a grayscale color, 0 to 255. 3 arguments is an RGB color with 100% opacity. It is fully opaque. It is not at all transparent. If I add the 4th argument, I get an RGB color with some amount of transparency. And by the way, if I just do just a little bit of an aside here, if I just use 2 numbers, then I'm having grayscale with some alpha. So it's a grayscale value with some alpha. So that's important to know as well. So those are all of the options. Let me see, what have I missed here? Okay, clear background. Let's not worry about, that's much more important when clear is important for when we come to animation. So I'll come and look at what clear does once I'm doing some animation stuff. But color mode is kind of interesting. I should probably do a whole separate video about that. I encourage you to click on it and look through some of the documentation for what you can do with color mode. But basically, color mode allows you to change the way that you're describing color with an alternate format. Well, I don't want to set the RGB in value. Maybe I want to set something called a hue or a saturation or a brightness. I'll try to make a video about what HSB color is. Maybe I have one already, in which case I'll link to it. And then color mode also allows you to say, like, what if I want the range to be between 0 and 100? It's easier for my mind to think about that. But I don't think you necessarily need to use color mode right now, but I'm letting you know about it. Okay, so now, what is your assignment? If you're watching this and you're going to make something, take your drawing and give it color. Fill it with color. Set the background, set the fill and stroke of different shapes. I want to give you just one more, I'm going to give you one more little treat here. If I add a function called stroke weight, this is a function that's not setting the color, but you know how I'm trying to show you that the outline of this, let me make the outline of this is like red, and I've got to like, oh, I can't even see it. That's weird. Let me make it blue. Oh, you know why? Because I put this. Oh, I have so much more to show you. That the outline is blue, but I have to like zoom all the way in to show it to you. What if I add this thing called stroke weight, and I just put the number 1 in there? Well, what that number 1 means is the outline of the shape is 1 pixel wide. It's a thin 1 pixel wide outline. I could make that 8, and suddenly it's much thicker. So, and you know, I can zoom in just to show this to you. I could be sort of insane and make this like 24 or 105, you know, and suddenly like the stroke is like wider than the actual shape itself. But the point is just to be able to, if you want to adjust the width of that outline, that's something you can do with the stroke weight function. Okay, thanks. Actually, you know, so what I want to do is show you something about code comments and errors. This is really important. I've kind of been skipping over that. I'm going to do that. I'm going to make a video really about that separately in the with the p5.js web editor, and that will be coming next. Okay, so so that's something that's going to you probably watch that before you do your project or afterwards, whatever. But that's going to help you a little bit, just kind of keeping things organized and managed. Okay, so I'll see you soon. Yeah. Was there a sound problem there? So oh yeah. No sound problem. Okay. How long is the stream going to last? Maybe another hour at the most. I'm not sure. I think this building is probably completely closed. I'm the only person left. All right. It was very subtle, didn't notice it. Okay, so great. So I'm going to assume that's fine. Oh. All right. So I need to do something about comments. And, okay, so I'm going to do save. Okay. All right, everybody. All right. All right, I have to do one. I really need to do this comments and errors. Hi. So I have so far made 3 videos in this series about learning to code from the very beginning with P5 and the P5 web editor. And I kind of have been avoiding showing you what happens when you make a mistake, which I really should not have done. That's the thing I really should be showing you right from the beginning, but I didn't. And I also haven't mentioned to you something called code comments. And both of these things are fundamental to how you might create a P5 sketch, one that you might work on over a period of time and return to later. So let's first look at the console and errors. So there's this whole extra section down here that I've ignored. I've been talking about this is where you write your code, the play button executes the code, and this is where you see the result of your code. Well, what do you see down here? What you see down here is messages that are things that are related to what's happening in your code that might be a mistake or something that you add that you want to specifically put a message there. So I'm going to show you, there's a function called print. I'm going to say print, and I'm going to say hello. And I'm putting this in setup because I want this just to happen at the beginning. And this, again, I will come back to later. So this being in the code, suddenly in the console, we have this down here. The idea of the console is not something, so if you're making a project that you imagine users using, like a game, you wouldn't put the score of the game here. You would want to draw the score somewhere on the canvas, or there's actually a way you could put the score below the canvas, something for the user to ultimately see. But if you just want to be able to see what the score of the game is and kind of like for yourself while you're developing, the console is for you, the person who's writing the code, or your friend who you're sharing the code with, or your teacher, or whoever. I mean, it's something that anybody using the P5 web editor can see, but when you've finished it and you put it on your own website, which is maybe something I'll show you how to do, that console wouldn't necessarily appear. So in addition to being able to put your own messages, anything that you do wrong is going to be down there. Now, one thing that's really important, notice how no stroke has a capital S. Look, no stroke also doesn't even have any arguments in here, like it's just open and closed parentheses, because there's no way to modify it. That's something I didn't mention. Notice how there's commas here. If I get anything wrong, like if I delete this comma, look at this. Now I'm also getting error messages in here. Now this is, it won't, oh, I didn't even hear that sound. Did it just buzz? Oh yeah, it did, sorry. Try it again. Maybe, I don't know if Matthew, maybe edit that. Or maybe not. Oh, buzz, look, error message. So here's the thing. Whenever you see the red error message, first of all, just take a deep breath. Sometimes that error message is lovely. It like tells you exactly what's wrong and it tells you how to fix it. And this might be a case. Uncaught syntax error, missing parentheses after your argument list, sketch line 11. Oh look, line 11, missing parentheses, sorry. You know what it really should say? Missing comma. So this is the thing. The thing that's generating the error, the web editor, the JavaScript language, the browser, all of these pieces are figuring out what to put down there. It doesn't always guess correctly. So the nice thing is I can see like unexpected in parentheses. We can kind of like see it there, but we're going to have to guess what's wrong. It's actually a comma. Sometimes you'll get an error in the message that totally makes sense. I'm going to change this from stroke weight with a capital W to stroke weight with a lowercase w. And this I'm not getting such a great error message, but this is a really important one. Uncaught reference error. Stroke weight is not defined. Whoa, but why is it not defined? I watched a video from Daniel Schiffman, and he said that stroke weight is a function from the p5.js library. It's not part of the JavaScript language, but it's a function of the p5.js library, and I could call it in my code if I'm using the p5.js web editor, which is true. But because programming in JavaScript is case sensitive, it doesn't know what it is without the capital W. And notice how the editor is syntax highlighting it for you. So stroke weight, suddenly it turns blue. This is, by the way, no different than me saying like, oh, I want to write a function called unicorn magic. Oh, uncaught reference error, unicorn magic is not defined. Because It's not a function, it's not part of the p5.js library or any other library that I might be choosing to use as part of my project. There are other functions that you can call, by the way, that are just part of JavaScript inherently that you get when you use JavaScript, and p5 adds functions to that. So that's an error you're going to see a lot. It's because you misspelled it, maybe you got a capital wrong, or it's just something you thought was in p5 or some other library using, but it's not there at all. So here's an interesting thing. I'm going to just take out all the semicolons. Or like some of them. No error message. I'm having like heart palpitations right now because the semicolons give me comfort. But the truth of the matter is the semicolons are somewhat optional in JavaScript. They indicate where the end of the line is. The end of the line of code, background 100, is, where is it? Where is it? It's there. But JavaScript can usually figure out where the end of the line of code is, even if you don't include the semicolon. The weird thing is I'm going to show you something kind of interesting. If I were to put, let's say, rect mode up here on the same line, the code runs just fine the same way. JavaScript actually thinks of that as two lines of code, because semicolon means the end of the line, then the next line. But if I delete the semicolon now, all is lost. It can't figure it out. So this is why it's generally good practice to use the semicolons. It's like a safety net. Like I'm really explicitly saying where the end of the line of code is, but you might really just, you should have fun and just like not use the semicolons. But I can't help it. And also I have to do the tidy code thing now. There, okay. So that's errors in the console. There's another thing I want to talk about in this video. Maybe I should make it another one. I'm so confused about whether to make short ones or long ones, but I'm going to talk about it right now. No, I'm going to do it in the next one. All right, hold on. I think I should make these shorter. I think it's better to make these shorter. Somebody's going to tell me. That wasn't that long. People are just talking about the buzz. Stop talking about the buzz. Should I do another video? Should I keep going or make it the next video? Like if you were a student, you're in high school, you're watching these on YouTube, would you rather have the longer ones or a bunch of shorter ones? Long. Huh. I mean, I find if it's 20 minutes, it's fine. Short and curly. This is a very scientific way of polling. I just see you write something into the chat. I see Kelly is typing, and I feel like Kelly is going to say in Slack something really meaningful, and I'm waiting. All right. I'm gonna yeah, about 15 minutes, shorter, long. Yeah, that's true. CJ writes shorter is better for searching, finding what you need. I think the comments is its own thing. So I'm going to do that. All right, I know I said at the beginning of this video that I was going to talk about the code comments, but I'm not going to. That's going to be in the next video. I'm going to do that separately so you can look at them individually. And this video's title should probably just say like console and error messages, so you won't turn up in your search. All right, so if you want to, the next thing that I think is useful to you in like working on your assignment, your project for this first set of videos is understanding what code comments are and how to use them. I'll do that in the next video. Okay, here I am. So in this video, I'm going to talk to you about code comments and how you can write comments in your code for just you or your friend and the human beings who are looking at your code to read, or actually to like quickly disable and re-enable certain lines of code. All sorts of exciting things you can do with code comments. I'm going to show you how to do that in the P5 web editor, but this is a universal concept. Any programming language or environment that you choose to work in will have a feature of a way of writing stuff in your code that is ignored by the computer that's executing the instructions and is just there for you to review if you like took a break for a year and you come back, or to remind yourself of something. So let's look at that. So anything that I write into the P5 web editor with a // immediately that line becomes what's known as a comment. So let's like what if I were to write Something like, okay, so this is the green rectangle in the center. So the idea of a code comment, and you can see that it is highlighted, it is gray. It does not have the syntax highlighting of the executed. This means that when the computer is executing the instructions, and I never explicitly said this, but it's important, line by line, one after another, it ignores this. That is just there for me, the human being, to read. So this can be useful. If you were doing a self-portrait, you might say like, this is where I'm worked on my nose, and this is the code for drawing my chin, and this is the code for drawing my ears. And you don't even have to do it as a sentence. So I could just say like, you know, red circle. You might also write a note to yourself like, later I want to make this circle animate. And actually a convention is sometimes to write to do. I mean but you know, that doesn't mean anything. But so there's all sorts of things you could write in the code comments. So I encourage you, easier said than done, and I don't necessarily follow my own advice, but I encourage you to get in the habit of writing code comments. Your future self will thank you. It's certainly something that as a teacher, I try to do as much as possible because I want to explain the code in line so people looking at it, can follow what certain pieces are doing. And typically I put the comment that's describing what's happening after it. Okay, so that's how code comments work. But there's another sort of neat trick to code comments that I'm not mentioning, which is that if a comment is a thing that's ignored, why not use / in front of something like a function call? So I could, for example, do // and suddenly the line of code with the rectangle function is grayed out and the rectangle is no longer in my canvas. So this is a thing that I can do because before, do you notice how when I wanted to demonstrate stroke weight? So I have to pause for a second because I'm getting notifications on my watch and it's really distracting me. I'm going to take it off. I will look at these. I think it's an important message, but it's way too distracting when my watch is buzzing me. Okay. Sorry about that. This is going to have to be an awkward edit, but I'm going to come back. I'm going to sort of repeat what I was saying, and it'll hopefully get spliced together in a way that makes sense. Before, when I was showing you what if I wanted to use no stroke instead of stroke, what I actually did was I deleted stroke and then wrote no stroke in there. And I was able to sort of like undo my way back. But often what I want to do, and I'm going to do that right now, often what I want to do is say like, let me quickly disable the stroke and then show you no stroke. So here I'm kind of saving what I had before because I might want to re-enable it and then and adding in something new. And then now if I want to put the stroke back, I can delete that and I can delete the // and now the stroke is back. So, and I can even do things like I can like highlight this whole section and I can say command / and the whole thing is like commented out. I can say command / again and the whole thing comes back. So this is a really just useful technique while you're working to kind of speed up your workflow. You can kind of leave some stuff in your code that you don't want to see, but you might want to pull back, come back later, and you'll sort of figure out how to manage this best. But the primary reason for comments is to add things in your code about what you're doing. And this could be for teaching or it could be notes to your future self. And I might say that things that you might want to consider doing is, code example by, Daniel Schiffman. You can do things like this. The coding train, maybe you put like a URL in here. Like this is the kind of thing, maybe you have some information like it's what your license is, like please share and use. There's technically you can add a software license that's part of the comments, and I don't want to get too far down that hole, but just explain to people what they can use it for. But this is the kind of thing that you can also use code comments for, to put something at the top that's kind of announcing what it is, credits, and usually I would do things like this code is based on everything I learned from Lauren McCarthy And Cassie Tarakijian, creator of the editor. You know, I would really often, like, I'm always crediting where I got, because so much about coding is finding examples and changing something in the example. Learning to code is doing that. And so I always like to try to give credit. You know, sometimes there's a legal requirement to give credit. With P5, everything is open source and licensed in such a way that all the examples that you do are not required under any legal anything to give credit, but it's nice to give credit when you can. I always try to. And if I forget to, if you see something I made, I forgot to give credit, please let me know so I can add it. Okay, there's some more stuff. There's other fancier ways you can add comments, but I'm not going to go into that right now. I'm just noticing in the chat. So, well, you know, all in good time. I can't get to everything in every video. So that's code comments. You are ready. If you were taking this somehow as a course, this would kind of be the end of the first module. You've learned a little bit about what P5 is, what JavaScript is, how to sign up for an editor account, how to draw shapes, how to set colors, and how to read error messages and add comments. So make a sketch, save it, share it with me in the comments, share it on Twitter. Let's talk about better ways that we can share these things with each other, and I look forward to seeing what you make. And if you continue watching this series, the next stuff that is to come is going to show you about how to animate the stuff and interact with it with the mouse. Okay, I will see you soon and hope you enjoyed these videos. Everyone's telling me I have to do the *//*. Do I really have to? It seems like a whole can of worms to open. Oh, Ben Duncan says, how do we share in the comments? We can't put in a link. So you can put in a link. If you put in a link, the YouTube comment system will often flag it, and it'll show up when I look at the channel moderation as like a possible spam comment. I will approve them if they're a link to the web editor. So it just won't show up immediately. I have to look at my messages now because it looked like there was something important. So apologies. Okay. Sorry, I'm a little bit later getting home than I thought. Coding Train is brought to you by a very kind family who doesn't mind when I keep being later than I say. That's what all that buzzing was. So I think I've got to start wrapping up, but I'm going to do the snake game coding challenge. All right. Oh, I didn't duplicate this, but that's fine. I will work that out. Hold on. Oh, shoot. I'm going to do something a little bit weird here. I mean, I'm not too worried about keeping track of this code. Actually, you know what? I don't think... I'll clean this stuff up later. I'm not too worried about the... All right, hold on. No. Let me do what I meant to do. So I'm going to back... I don't know how long the undo is, but I'm going to back up to the end of the color video, which I think is about this. So that's Coding Train color. Then I'm going to do file duplicate. I don't think I need this, but Coding Train comments console. And I'm going to say print hello here. And I'm going to hit save. And hopefully that, and then I'm going to get this. Oh, whoops. I'm going to get this. going to finish this up. And I'm going to say print hello. Oh. So this should be fine. So later, when I'm putting links into the video description, oh, come on. Oops. I'm going to say file, open, yeah. So I have Coding Train drawing, Coding Train color, oscillation demo, and Coding Train comments console. So these will be the things that I'll link in the video description. Yes, thank you, Kelly. I should do that now. I can't do that, though, live broadcasting. All right, I'm going to do my best. Oh, why did I close everything? All right, I'm a little bit concerned, but let's... So I am going to I think for this coding challenge, I am not going to flip the editor because I'm going to need to use this over here. And so I'm just going to try to see how it works like this. And that's plenty of space for me. So let's try this. So I'm going to say snake coding challenge. So I'm going to try to make the snake game again. Today is the day. Today is the day of just redoing everything I've done before. So unfortunately, I don't have time to do a video about using Google Classroom and the p5.js web editor. I've got to add that to my list. And hopefully I can be done with this coding challenge in 20 minutes. Oh, Austin says, fix the sidebar in my new bookmark lid. I'm a little concerned. I'm just going to try it like this, because I'm a little bit concerned about people like seeing it all different. But, and also I'm pressed for time. So thank you for that. I'm going to play around with that flipping thing in a future video. Okay. All right, let's see how this goes. You know, I actually don't have to do the thing. I could do that other thing I need to do this weekend, and I could do it not in this studio. So let's see. Okay. Oh, I am so not prepared for this, and I'm totally exhausted. I'm going to be over here drinking my non-branded water product. We need to erase the whiteboard, because we might need to use it. Okay, here we go. Here's my attempt to make another video with 1 million views. Most of my videos have like 5 to 10,000 views. That snake, you go look it up. That snake game video, it's always at the top of my analytics and just forever. And I don't know why, but okay. All right. Let me cycle the cameras. Hungry, I haven't had dinner. This is a recipe for disaster, but I'm doing it anyway. Happy back to school. It is August 31st. School for me starts next week. On the coding train, I'm going to attempt to do a classic again. I'm going to attempt to do a coding challenge and make the snake game. And yes, I have done this before, but I'm going to do this in order to celebrate something that was announced today, the p5.js web editor. So the p5.js official web editor is out. And I'm going to try, the nice thing about this is when I code this, at the end of it, stop with the sound effects. At the end of this, you'll be able to just go directly to this URL, which I'll include in the video description, and hit duplicate. You have to make an account for the web editor. Hit duplicate and then make your own version of it from my code and share that with me. So I will include all about how to do that in the video description. And I'm going to give myself about, oh, my watch isn't on. There's no timer, but I actually have to go to be home very soon. So I'm giving myself about 20 minutes, which of course is going to take longer than that, but let's see how it goes. All right, so however long this video is however long it takes. Hopefully there'll be no edits. Every once in a while, it just has to be an edit because the whole system crashes. I better get coding. Snake game. Have you ever played the snake game? The idea of the snake game is there is a canvas. You are a dot, or like a little square on that canvas. Another dot or another little square appears, which is a piece of food. You want to move. You can only move to the right, up, or down along. Grab that piece of food. Once you grab that piece of food, a new piece of food appears somewhere else, and you get a little more on your tail. You get another piece of your body, and you get the next piece of food, and it gets longer, and it gets longer. And anytime you hit the edge, if you run into one of the edges, you die, the game's over. Or if you hit another part of your body, and it becomes much harder as your body gets longer and longer. That's the snake game. That's what I'm going to code. So in order to do this, I'm going to use object-oriented programming. In my previous version of this coding challenge, I used like this constructor function thing, and now we have ES6 classes. I want like a happy sound. So one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you, by the way, if you want to know all about the p5.js web editor, check a link to a Medium article that is in the video's description and a whole bunch of videos from the Processing Foundation. There's a nice video with Cassie Terrakajian, who created the editor, describing all of its features. But one feature is that I can go over here and find this little thing, this little tick, less than, greater than sign, whatever it is, and I can say add file. And I'm going to add a file. I'm going to call it snake.js. And now I have a file called snake.js where I can create a snake class. Now, if you've never done object-oriented programming before, the idea is that this is a template for this snake object that I'm going to make in my code, and it has a constructor function. I will refer you to my tutorials about object-oriented programming with ES6 classes. Now, but in order for, I need to actually go into index.html so that the page, when I run the code, is actually using both sketch.js and snake.js. So that's there. So now I have sketch.js, which is just and I need to see this, a 400 by 400 canvas, and snake.js, which has nothing in it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to say let snake, and in setup being where the code starts in a p5.js sketch, snake equals new snake. So I've made a new snake, and what do I want to do? I want to update the snake's location every frame, and I want to display it. So the idea here is I want to say snake.update, and I want to say snake.show. I'll use show as meaning show yourself, display. What is this? Snake.update is not a function. Oh, come on, I have to write the code for it? Yes, I have to write the code for it. So if I'm going to write a function called update, that means I have to put a function in the snake class called update, and then I have to put a function called show. Ta-da, I'm done. Coding challenge complete. Snake game, not at all. So this is like the skeleton of the code, but I actually need to put stuff in here, and I'm going to hit Shift-Tab to tidy up the indentation. Okay. What do I need? So I'm going to do something a little weird. I know that what I need is an array, because even though the snake's position you could think of as like a single XY location, I botched this the last time I did this. Really what I want is an array, because I want to keep track of a list of all of its locations. And maybe the first element, and probably more easily the last element of the array, when there's only one thing, is it's the sort of head of the snake, the front part of the snake. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to say I'm going to call it a body, is an array. And then I'm going to say this.body index 0. I'm going to put one thing is create vector. Now, create vector is a function in P5 that creates a vector object, and that vector object has an x and a y. So I'm going to create it at 0, 0. And then in update, I'm going to say this.body index 0.x plus equal this.x speed, I'll call it x speed or x direction or something. And this dot body dot y, index 0 dot y equals this dot y direction. Oh, this is so ugly, but it's the way I'm doing it, right? Instead of having this is a little weird, like normally if it's just like one thing that's moving around, I just have an x and a y. Instead, I have a body index 0, x, and a body index 0, y, because later I'm gonna get to add more pieces to the body. So if I run this, what's this dot x direction, this dot y direction? It doesn't even exist. So those are going to be variables that tell me, is the snake moving to the right or left? Is the snake moving up and down? So those values, this dot x dir is, let's start them at 0. So they're 0. And so, and then show, I'm going to do something. I'm going to say, what do I want to do? Showing the snake is drawing a rectangle. I'm going to do something a little bit weird. So I'm going to draw, again, eventually this is going to become a loop because I'm going to be drawing all the pieces of it. But let's just start with putting in the x and a y. And I'm just going to say, I'm going to make it 10. This is going to be a little weird. Actually, 10 by 10, the rectangle. And I'm sorry that you can't see all the code. I'm not used to doing challenges with the web editor, so let's see if I can make this a little bit wider. There we go. So, okay, rectangle, and then I'm going to say fill 0 just to make it black. And look at that. Already, I see it there. I better save this. Oh, saved a minute ago. It's auto-saving. That's wonderful. There it is, right there. Let me make x direction 1. Whoops, 2 equals by accident. Look, it's moving now, right? Because the idea in update, the body's head's x location is increasing, right? If I made this 100, it's moving really, really fast. 10, it's moving pretty fast. If I change this back to 0 and make this 1, it's moving down. I could do all sorts of weird things, make that 5, but that's not, I'm no longer in the snake game. The snake game, by definition, I can only move horizontally or vertically. So I'm going to start these at 0, and then I'm also, just right now, I'm going to change this to 1. I'm going to do this in a funny way that I think might work well. It's a tiny little dot, a 1 pixel dot, that rectangle. I am going to now, in Sketch, I'm going to have the keyboard be the controls. So I'm going to say key pressed. Oh, I forgot how to do this already. So like if key equals up, what is it in P5? Basically, key pressed is an event that whenever I press a key, this function happens. Then I can check what key did I press. But I totally can never remember how to write this function. So let's try to look at the P5 reference. Somebody maybe in the chat will tell me. Let's look at key pressed. If value equals 0, no. If key code equals left arrow, this is good. This is what I want. It's the key code. So key is for like which character I press, but if I'm using the arrows, I need to use left arrow, right. So let me actually just grab this. I'm going to say if key code, and I know I could use a switch statement. I'm just not going to right now, okay? Please don't at me. That's what I'm supposed to say. Somebody taught me that who's younger than me. Key code equals left arrow. Key code equals right arrow. Doing a terrible job of paste, down arrow, up arrow. Auto format, there we go. Okay, so now what I want to do is if it's the left arrow, then snake.setDirection, this is the way I did it before, I remember. Left is -1 to the -1 along the x and 0 along the y. So I'm going to write a function that's like saying set the direction. So this is for left. This is for right. This is for, I'm so freaked out, down. I'm remaking this video, why? This is for up, -1. Okay, tidy code. So I think this is the right idea. Depending on which key I press, move the snake in that direction. So now I can say, I can write this function, set direction, and I'm getting an x and a y, and I'm just saying this dot x direction equals x, and this dot y direction equals y. So whatever comes into the function sets those things. People, I can see the chat over there. Please do a switch statement. No. Duplicate my code and change it and make it better. Use a switch statement. Okay. So now I'm going to do this. Let's zoom in here. Let's see if this works. Ah, come on. No, I have to click. Yes, down. Look at this. So now it's working, right? So I'm pressing all the keys and I'm moving it around. Perfect. Now I need to deal with something. I don't want to have to like zoom in. It's like so tiny. So ultimately, there's an issue here. Like I want to think about the snake in units of 1. Here's my snake. It moves 1 pixel over. It moves 1 pixel over. It moves 1 pixel over. But I have a canvas that's 400 by 400, and I probably want to draw it as like a 10 by 10 thing. So I want to have a variable. I'm going to have a variable. I'm going to call it REZ, short for like resolution. Can you see that? And I'm going to just make that 10. So that variable, and actually, to be honest, I could just use, you know what I could do? I could just use the scale function. I'm just going to use the scale. So I was going to use math, and I was going to always multiply its x location by that resolution, and multiply and use the resolution for the width. But the truth of the matter is, p5 has a scale function. So I'm going to say let resolution equal 10, and then in the draw function, I can just say scale by resolution. And what that's going to do, and notice, like, see, look at that. I can change this to 50. I can make this 10. I can make this 100. It's just scaling it up. And if I move this to the, and so now if I make this 10 and I move to the right, it's actually moving every 10 pixels also, because when it changes by 1, it moves 10. And I could, what I might want to do is, normally I want the animation to go really fast, but I'm going to change the frame rate to 5 just to slow it down so we can see, whoops. What's a little tricky here when using the P5 web editor is I need to click over here to give this preview pane focus so that it gets the key commands. So now you can see it moving over. And this, the frame rate, typically I don't want to like slow the frame rate of the animation down, but this is a way I can control the speed of the sketch. So this is what I'm going to do. Okay. So now I need, so I need to have a piece of food. So I'm going to make the piece of food just a vector at some random, I could make a food class, but I think that's overkill. I'm going to make it at, okay. So here's now a tricky thing. I want the food, okay, let's say my sketch is 400 by 400. And really my world is 40 by 40, but I scaled it up by 10. So I need a variable to keep track of the actual dimensions of the world. So I'm going to say, I'm going to use W. Well, I don't know. I'm just trying to think of columns, or I'm going to say W equal, I'm going to actually just put let W and let H here. So I'm going to say W equals floor width divided by resolution. So what is this? Width divided by resolution is 400 divided by 10, which is 40. And the reason why I'm using floor there is just in case my math is off, I want W to be an integer, a whole number. That will take off the decimal place. H equals floor height. And of course it's a square, so I don't really need to have 2 separate values, but your window might not be a square. There, okay. So, so now that I have that, why was I doing this again? Oh, the food. Because now I want to get an X position, and guess what? I remember this from before. I'm going to write a function, food location. Food location. And what happens in this function is I pick an X, which is floor random W, and a Y, floor, so I need a spot, random H, right? I need to find a random spot for the food and set that there. And then in draw, I'm going to make the food a red. I'm standing a little bit in front of the code, but hopefully this is okay. And I'm going to say rectangle food.x, food.y11. So, I guess I could make it a point or something, but it's just, everything is of unit 1 scaled up. Okay, and I need to actually call, at the beginning, food location. And why is it, it's not written. So you know what I need to do here is I need to say no stroke. That stroke is getting scaled in a strange way. So this is actually 10 by 10 pixels. It was much bigger because with a stroke there, that's getting scaled as well. So now we can see, whoops, if I click over here, we can see, and eventually, come on, get that piece of food. Okay, so now, good, so this is working. The snake game is working. Oh, this is good. This is much better than I did before. Helps to do this a second time, even though that was like a couple of years ago. Let's make this 20, just because I want to be able to see it better. Okay, so that's good. Let me just make sure things are lining up. Excellent. So now I need a test. I'm going to say snake.eat food. So that means I need a function, and let's put that, I don't know if the order matters so much. I'm going to put this here, and I'm going to say eat food. I'm just going to make an argument called position. So basically the food is getting passed in here, and I'm eating the food if. Now, this is really probably a bad idea, because you never know in JavaScript if you've really got the number like 3, or if by accident you have the number 3.0000001. But I'm going to test, in theory, if the xy of the head of the snake is the same as the xy of the piece of food. If they're equal, I should be eating the food. So let's just see if that works. So I'm going to say if, so first, let x equal, let's just put this in a separate variable. Let y equal this dot, I'm going to get that head of the snake location. If x equals pos.x and y equals pos.y, then return true, and also say console, I'm going to say print. I'm going to say console log print food eaten. Okay, so let's see if this works. It's a little bit dangerous, a little bit treacherous, and I'm going to say return false otherwise. And then in the sketch, I'm going to say if I'm going to have this return something, if you eat the food, then you just need a new food location, right? So immediately we should pick a new random location. All right, let's try this. I missed it. I can't get it. Oh, so that's working. All right, so I think all my flooring of the numbers, you know, maybe I need to have some better, this seems to be fine. So I'm gonna live with that. I'm happy with it. Okay, so now, we are so close. What do I need to do? This is going very remarkably well. That's a sure sign for something to go wrong. I'm going to say this.grow. If I eat the food, I want the snake to grow. If I'm calling a function that I intend to be part of the snake object within the snake class, I need to reference it by saying this.grow. And so that means I need to write another function, grow. And what that means is I want to expand the array. Okay. Well, this is the tricky part. Oh, this is where everything went wrong before. I'm not even looking at the chat. There's a chat going on. I'm sure everyone's screaming at me. I'm going to add another variable. This.len for length of the snake, and it starts as 1. So at a minimum, I know when I want to grow, I want length to go up by 1. So I want the length to increase, and I need to add something onto the array. Add something to the end, add something to the beginning. This is unclear to me. So first of all, let's try. So let's just try saying this.body. Okay, so first let me get the last. I'm thinking about this. You know what? I think this is going to be, I think actually this is simpler than I think. Let's just try saying this.body.push create vector. So I'm just going to push a blank vector into it. Like I know I need something else in the array, so let me just, and push is something that adds to the end of the array. Maybe I want to put it at the beginning. I'll figure that out in a second. But I'm just going to push to the end of the array. And actually, I'm realizing the flaw in that, but that's okay. Yeah, so actually, so pushing, I could put it in the beginning and that would actually work, I think. But, okay, we're going to figure this out. I'm like trying to think it through. Sometimes it's easier than think it through, just code it. So what I want to do now, this whole thing, so first of all, what this means is anytime I want to draw the snake, I don't actually want to draw, just a single rectangle. I want to draw all the rectangles. So I'm going to say, and I could use like a for of loop or something, but I'm just going to say, I'm just going to use a regular old-fashioned this dot for loop, this dot body dot length, I++, and then this loop will go around here. Uh-oh. Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! I've killed the editor! I've killed the editor. Let's pray autosave works. So by the way, the editor has infinite loop protection in it. So I was like not worrying about making this happen. But I have now caused an infinite loop and I've totally frozen the page. I'm not sure why I didn't get the infinite loop protection. But what I'm going to have to do, and we're going to pray. Ooh, let's see. Let's just pray. I'm going to get this. I'm going to close the window. It won't let me close. And I'm going to just go back to it. Let's see when it last auto. So I'm going to quickly click off this auto refresh. And where did I last leave off? That's not so bad. So the last time it auto saved was here. And I'm going to retype my loop more carefully without having auto refresh on. Let I is less than this dot body dot length. I have to move this now back all the way over here. I++. And I'm going to auto format that, and I'm going to say this dot body dot I. This. So now I'm drawing every element in there. Okay. So now I'm going to hit save. Project is saved. So I have that. Oh, I lost what I wrote in grow. Live and learn. Let me move this over here. Oh, all right, because I had this open. That's why. So this actually comes back here. What time is it? 7:45. Okay, we're good. I got some time. So grow, what did I do in that? I said this dot body dot push create vector, and I said this dot length. I don't know if I need this length variable, to be honest, because by definition the length of the array is the length variable. That was so sad. And then did I add that? And then I added that. So let's see. I lost some code. You're not really coding if you don't lose some code every once in a while to an infinite loop. Okay. So here we're good. Now this is what's going to happen here is really weird, but I'm going to get the food. Oops. Shoot, I missed the food. So interestingly, why am I not seeing? I would imagine that I would see another. So one thing, I would guess that I'm going to see another appendage, but it would just be at 0, 0. Well, look at me. Look at this. Push create vector. Create vector at 0, 0. Let me just do that. So that I forgot. So what we're going to see here is this. There we go. So that second part of the snake is there, but it's up there. So what I need to do now is when I'm updating the snake's location, I'm going to comment this out for a second. The first thing that I want to do, and there's shift. Okay, there's an array function called shift. I forgot what. Last time I did this, I didn't use that. I just manually moved all the spots in the array. Let's look at array JavaScript shift. I don't actually know what this function does, but everyone was telling me I should do it. Shift. 1, 2, oh, look at that. That's so perfect. So this is what I want. I want to shift all the elements down one, and I guess I'm losing one. So let me just see let me see if I understand this. So just in the console, let me practice this. Let array equal 5, 6, 9, 100, 5. So that's what's in the array. And if I say array.shift, whoops, no. That's what it returns. Did it shift it? But it shifted. Oh, so it's giving me the thing that it got rid of, and then it's making it one less. So this is perfect. This is exactly what I need. Oh, I love it. So actually, all I need to do every time in update is say this.body.shift, and then that's moving everything over, and then the last spot, so one thing I need to do is let me save where it currently is. So let me pop, pop doesn't remove it from the array, right? So if I say array.pop, that gave me the element 5, but the array still, oh no, that got rid of it. How do I get something off the end without removing it? Oh, unshift adds from the beginning. That's interesting. How do I get the last element without removing it? Yeah, this is what I'm planning to do. Grow. Yeah, so update is shift, and then I want to get, well, I'm just going to do it the manual way. This dot, I'm just going to say let head equal this dot body dot, and this dot body dot length -1. That's the last element. Dot copy. So this is me taking the last element and making a copy of it. And then what I want to do is say head.x plus equal this.x direction, head.y plus equal this.y direction, and then I just want to put that back on. So I want to like save where it was and then move that, and then the body is all there. Yeah, so I'm being told that this is actually how to do it. So that's the last element, copying it. So I just want to see something here for a second. Let's see if this works. Do I need something else? Let me just see what I've got here. So one thing that I want to do, what's wrong here? This dot body index this cannot read property copy of undefined. So do I not have, oh, because I'm doing it after shift. And if I'm shifting something with 0, yeah, if I'm shifting something with 0, so shift has to happen after, right? Because if it only has one thing in it, I shift it, it's gone. Okay. So this is working now. Oh, look at that. So this worked, and it made it longer, but it created it back at the start. So I need to keep that location when I grow it. So the same thing I need to do here in grow. What I want to do is not add. What I want to do is do this exact same thing and then push, right? I want to take the last one and add it to the end. So I need to just duplicate where it was before to the end. I think this should do the trick. Yep. Am I like going one step behind by accident? I'm not sure, but that's pretty good. You know why the food? Oh, you know what? It's not getting it until I get to the back. Why? Because eat is always checking this one. I need to check the last element. Same thing. This is very awkward the way I'm doing it. And I'm sure somebody will make their own version that's less awkward, but I need to check the location of the head against the food. Here we go. Let's try this one more time. Snake game go. There we go. And up. There, this is better. Okay, great. This is working. Yay! All right, now, guess what? One more thing. I need to know when to restart the game. When do I die? So I'm going to do a function called like check, check for death, or like, I don't know, end game. And what I need to do is I need to check if the head intersects with any of the other positions. So the head, as we know, is, well, it's this. This is a little bit weird what I'm doing. That's the last spot. And now I can say for let I equal 0, I is less than this dot body dot length -1. I don't want to check the head against itself. I plus plus. I'm going to say let part equal this dot body index I, and then I'm going to say if. The camera went off. For the purpose of no editing, we can leave that in. If part index, if part dot x equals x and part dot y equals y, then return true. The game is over. Or if x is greater than, what was it, w? -1? Or if it's gone off the screen, or x is less than 0, or y is greater than h minus 1, or y is less than 0, then also return true. I should probably check that first, because if you're off the edge, I don't need to check any of the body parts. Oh, but I need to first get the x and y values. So I'm doing something a little weird, where sometimes I'm using like the vector and then I'm saying pos.x and pos.y, and sometimes I'm pulling out the x and y from the vector. And then at the end, I'm going to say return false. So let's see if now I can get endgame to work. So in here, I'm going to say also now at the end, if snake.endgame, I'm just going to say print endgame, and I'm going to say background 255.0.0 and no loop. So I'm just going to completely shut down the P5 sketch if the game ends. So this is not necessarily what you want to do for like interaction design, but I'm just testing the feature. So the first thing I'm going to do is just try to go off the edge. So I'm going to go off the bottom. Yeah, okay, so that works. So going off the edge, at least the bottom, like I should probably test the other edges. Whoa, what just happened there? And I took my auto refresh off. I'm going to put that on. So if I go off the top, ooh, that didn't work. I probably had a mistake somewhere in there. Y, this should be Y. Oops, that was a mistake. Okay, so yeah, all right, hopefully that fixed that. And now what I need to do, so one thing I need to do just to be able to test better is I'm going to add something. I'm going to add the mouse pressed function. And I'm going to say this snake.grow. So anytime I click the mouse, I'm going to grow the snake. So I can do it, sort of test this feature. Oh, whoops, shoot. Oh, and you know what? I should set the snake in the middle. So the snake's location should probably be initially the w divided by 2 and h divided by 2. And I've got to keep everything an integer. So I've got to put floor in here, just in case. All right. So now let me, whoa, why did that? Oh, because when I grow, the head becomes the same location as the other part of the body, and then I check to see if the game is over. But shouldn't it fix it with, oh, but if it's not moving, so I got to move it first. I mean, this should be okay. No, because if I click to get focus, oh, this is so sad. This is like a silly debugging thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have it grow with the space bar, not mouse pressed. Else if key equals space. I'm just trying to do this to debug it, and so I can do whatever I want. So I click over here and I move it. So I'm going to make it longer. So now let's see if it dies. Yep, okay, great. So I think I finished this game. Really what I want to do is come up with an end screen or restart the game or have some sort of score. Let's see, before I go, how long I can play it before I die. And oh, let me just show you something. If I go, I'm going to hit save. If I go under, this is a feature of the web editor. If I go File, Share, I'm going to go here and I'm going to grab this full screen URL. I'm going to grab it. I'm going to open a new tab. And now it's just the game. I'm going to make it bigger for fun times. I'm going to click in here and ready. I'm going to play the game. Goodbye. Make your own version. Look for the link. Sign up for a P5 web editor account. Hit duplicate. Make your own version. Share it in the comments. There will be a codingtrain.com page which you can also share it. This is much too easy. I'm going to be here forever, aren't I? I'm going to look at the... Well, this is working. I made the game. I can go home now. Let's just see how long this goes for. Okay, I died. I don't know why I died. I hit backwards. So good thing I hit backwards. The game is over. Thank you, thank you. So that might be a bug that I want to fix. So that actually if you hit back, but I guess you should lose the game if you hit backwards. I don't know. You can make the design more interesting. You can do all sorts of things. You can now make your own version of the Snake game in P5 in the web editor, instantly share it. Thank you to the Processing Foundation, Cassie Terakajian, all the people who made contributions to the P5 web editor. And all the people who have worked on p5.js over the years. I'm so excited to be able to make tutorials and coding challenges with this. I will still use my other workflow and I will use processing, but I hope you enjoyed this video and I will see you next time on the coding train. All right. All right, so let me, if anybody wants to get this right now, this is it. Thank you, CJ, for the claps. So I have to go. I'm going to just quickly send a text message. Okay. Sorry, this is like, could you believe you're watching a live stream and I'm like texting my family to work out childcare arrangements? I gotta get home. My wife is going to some concert tonight. I can draw, or I can actually. So hold on, almost done. I should really shut off the stream before I do this. Okay, sorry, sent the important messages. Bug.eat should be after update still. Yeah, I probably made some mistakes. Whoa, what happened here? What did I do? Oh, because I made it bigger there. Let's look for mistakes. Oh, snake.eat should be after. Okay. Thank you, everybody who has been supporting this channel. I'm excited that I'm back. Next time will be next Friday, most likely. I will probably be continuing more beginner stuff, but I have a lot of other things to get to. So things that are coming this fall are tutorials on Word2Vec. Oh, actually next Friday, I have some surprise tutorials that I'm making that have to do with machine learning and training a model. Those actually won't happen during a live stream for some technical reasons, but you look for those on the channel, they will come out. So I might be recording some of those on Friday, and they'll be out, be out by Monday, but not on a live stream. But I will still do hopefully a live stream on Friday with some other stuff in it. So I think, yeah, people are asking in the chat I don't have a sense of what my schedule is going to be, but I do not teach any of my classes on Fridays, so that's typically the best day for me to do a live stream. And I will try to alternate some in the morning and some in this sort of afternoon, early evening time, depending on, as I know that it just sort of helps different people at different time zones be able to watch the videos. Okay, so thanks everybody. Yes, oh, and I definitely want to do a video about having an AI beat the Snake game. Yes. 4D Tetris is never going to happen. But thank you for the suggestion, Sumi. All right, so thank you, everybody. You'll notice that if you join to be a member of the coding train, you get access to new emojis. I'll send you some stickers. Stay tuned for new t-shirts with new designs. This is a new logo. The designer is Jason Hegland, jasonhegland.com. This is still kind of somewhat of a working draft. And I will see if I can answer one or two questions still. How many people are watching, by the way, right now? You know what I'm going to do? just in case things crash, I'm gonna hit stop recording. Because now the whole live stream has been recorded to disk. Coding train, processing, P5. There's actually another secret sticker on the bottom. Someone was asking, guess what? 3 Blue 1 Brown, which is a channel on the YouTube, which has wonderful content, is going to release a video about quaternions very soon. And I do solemnly affirm with the very sacred train whistle that I will do a video on quaternions at some point based on whatever 3 Blue 1 Brown does. And when I say at some point, I mean sometime in the next 25 years, but hopefully sometime this year. Who created P5? P5 is created by, the original creator of P5 is Lauren McCarthy. The project itself is has been built by a large collaboration of many people, the P5 community, and you go to the P5 website and the P5 GitHub to see who all those people are. And the Processing Foundation raises money to help maintain the P5 library. You only get the, so I have Patreon. This is a very confusing thing, and maybe someday I'll have a better system. I have both Patreon and YouTube for memberships. YouTube memberships, you get the emojis and the icon and stickers. You can also get the stickers with a Patreon membership and an invitation to Slack channel. So YouTube membership is the equivalent of $5 a month Patreon. But if you do the $5 a month Patreon, you don't get the YouTube stuff. The only reason you might want to do Patreon is if you prefer the platform, and if you want to do one of the higher level pledges where I'll mail you some books and stuff like that. But just be aware that on those higher level pledges, it takes me quite a while to get the stuff to you. You should get it within a year. That's sort of what I'm promising. Because I do a mailing every few months. This live stream has been up for at least 3 hours. Yeah, so once again, I just want to say that this live stream is dedicated to the memory of Coding Train contributor, enthusiast Merin. I'm very sad about hearing about the news of Merin's death this week, and but I wanted to mention that again at the end because his contributions and his spirit really meant a lot to me and the channel and the community. And I talked a bit more about Merin and showed the website at the beginning of the live stream. So when this gets archived, you can go back and see that, and I'll put links to information about Merin and his website in the chat. Okay, Alka says, I can't wait for the 50th anniversary Coding Train episode with the introduction of quaternions. Thank you, everyone. I have not had dinner. I clearly need to have dinner. And I'm going to hit stop streaming. I'm going to go. And thank you, everyone, for your support. I'm checking my notifications on Twitter. And I'm looking at my mentions on Twitter. I got to find my, dashboard. Oh, okay, so my dashboard says 2 hours, 56 minutes, and 30 seconds. So almost 3 hours. And here's the chat. I'm going to just type in the chat. Goodbye, all. See you next week. Bye and good night. By the way, this is the computer that has the broken E key. This is the old Coding Train computer. This is the new Coding Train computer. See you next week. Okay. And I am now going to click this button that says stop streaming. And when I click that, I awkwardly just disappear. Goodbye.